The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question?
I'm still trying to get YouTube working.
Listen more attentively.
Story of my life.
There must have been
I love that song. If I had my way, we'd play the whole thing.
wasn't quite so easy.
We'll bring it in sometime and we'll play it.
The guy who sings this song, Melvin Taylor, is going to open up our charity bash on March 23rd singing this song. Yeah,
That's
he does
awesome.
it every year.
That's
he comes.
fantastic.
Oh,
He's the
sweet.
only guy in the room that gets paid because it's a Friday night and his band would be out playing. So I called him one year and I said, we'd love to have you open the bash as if it's the radio show and start with the Paying Attention song live. And as soon as you get to like the first line, everyone's going to know that, hey, that's the guy that actually sings that song,
I
not
love
someone
it.
covering
That's
it.
awesome.
So he comes every year. We throw him $100 or something just for his night, and he comes, he sings, he plays one song, and he enjoys himself for the rest of the night.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's terrific.
So we're live. We're on. We're going to do a show.
We're here.
We should just kind of sit here and chat for the rest of the day. What do
That
you
works.
think? So just forget the whole show,
Yeah.
all the preparation. We'll just sit here and like just talk about stuff, right?
Sounds good.
So Fred and hey, by the way, hey. I'm Tom Duggan here on the Paying Attention podcast. We do this little show here from 2 to 4 every Thursday afternoon at Studio 21 Podcast Cafe on Route 28 in Salem, New Hampshire, right above Two Guys Smoke Shop. You might want to come in and buy a couple of cigars. Dave Garofalo, the owner here, was nice enough to give us for our charity event, March 23rd, he was nice enough to give us a 8-person cigar tasting valued at $300 for our raffle.
Wow, that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, he came over. He said, "Your raffle's going to benefit the veterans. Here, I want to donate this." So
That's awesome.
So that was nice of Dave. We
That's a big
appreciate
gift.
him. Yeah, we appreciate him doing that. And we also have Twin Lights Security. We've got Patrick from Twin Lights here. I'm going to try and get him up here on the show before the end of the show at some point.
Nice.
They do amazing work in the community. You know, it's not like McDonald's or Burger King or any of these chain stores can afford to have a Methuen cop or a Salem, New Hampshire cop outside, you know, watching for trouble all day, like Denny's in Lawrence, right? They used to have to pay enormous amounts of money for a Lawrence cop because there was always problems. Well, Patrick runs runs Twin Lights Security and Investigation. So not only do they do investigations if you're getting divorced or you think someone for your company is stealing from you, they can investigate, but they also do security. And so they have contracts with like McDonald's and a whole bunch of places that used to hire.
Wow, that's cool.
They used to hire cops, but they couldn't afford it. Now they hire guys like Patrick.
Wow.
So if you own a business out there and you need security at the door, a nightclub or McDonald's or any kind of business where you're in a rough neighborhood, you think maybe just having security might help out, Twin Lights Security is the place to call. Patrick's the guy you should be picking up the phone.
Awesome.
That's excellent.
And we also want to thank Joe Zingales, Century 21, Team Zingales. If you're looking to buy a house, please buy a house from these people. When we ran our charity event last year, they gave us $3,000 scholarship for a Lawrence High kid.
That's awesome.
When we do our police rallies, they sponsor it. When we do political debates, they sponsor it, and they're a sponsor of this show. If I went to him and said I want to start a coffee company, he'd be like, okay, I'm in. Like whatever we want to do, he never says no to us. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a house, call Joe or Rosanna Zingales. Buy a house from these people. Sell a house with these people. They help us. By helping them, you help us. So if you want to help us, help our advertisers. That's what I say. And then we get Angelo, one more, and then we'll get to real content. Angelo from A&B Auto in South Lawrence. This is a guy that had a business, I think, in like South Boston somewhere, Everett or somewhere. And he moved his business into Lawrence. Now, I know lots of people trying to move their business out of Lawrence. They can't wait to get out of Lawrence.
Right.
But this is a guy that said, you know what? I have faith in Lawrence, and I'm going to go into Lawrence, and I'm going to try and employ some people and run a business. So A&B Auto on South Broadway in Lawrence, it's the old Metropolitan Building.
A&M Auto.
A&M Auto.
A&M Auto.
What did I say? I said it wrong?
A&B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do that one again. No.
So he's a mechanic?
All right, Tom, take 2, A&M Auto.
A&M Auto. So, all right, so let's get to some news. Now, Meredith hasn't been here.
I'm back.
And I told her yesterday, there's no show if you're not here today. Because I cannot go 3 shows in a row. First, without eye candy. Look how absolutely beautiful she is, right?
Oh.
But secondly, like being around beautiful women, it brings my spirits up. So it's like, you don't have to marry me. You don't have to make out with me. You don't have to have sex with me. You don't have to. You don't even have to flirt back at me. Just being around beautiful women puts me in my A game, and I need that. So if I feel like I was floundering not anything against Fred, but I don't kind of go that way, and I need something to motivate me. So having Meredith here means this is going to be a great show.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, I've been accused of being a lot of things. Sweet has never been one of them.
Never once.
I'll take it.
Never once.
So what do you guys got for news for us?
You really want me to follow that with straight news?
No, not really.
That's very difficult.
We were saying off the air.
I mean, really.
Paul and I did a show. We had a guest that never showed up one day when we were at CAP, and we didn't know what to do. And so we decided to do a whole show on something like we'd never done before, because it's usually like a serious political show.
Yep.
And we did a show on relationships, and it was the funniest effing show we have ever done, ever. Even to this day, it was one of the best shows we ever did. Because I had like ex-girlfriends calling up going, that's not true, you just lied, because when we were together, and it was a really funny show, and it's not what we're used to doing. So I think at some point, Paul and I did talk about this morning, we may actually come in and do a relationship show just for fun.
That could be fun.
Yeah, we'll do news.
I'll bring popcorn.
Right, we'll do news, and then we'll do relationships, and my ex-girlfriends will be Skyping in going, So what do you guys got for news?
All right, Tom. So we're going to start out with a late-breaking story that is being covered right now by the Boston Globe. And this relates to, you probably saw this. Do you remember last weekend there was a group of dirt bikers riding their bikes down Route 93 down in downtown Boston?
I do.
It was on the Southeast Expressway. They were down by exit 18. And they had about 25 or 35 of these people. They were doing donuts in the middle of the road, caused chaos at the scene. Well,
totally unsafe.
Totally unsafe.
Oh, yeah.
So one of those drivers was injured when a state police trooper opened fire on him with a rifle, and he was shot in the foot. Well, the Boston Globe has been doing some research into this. They've been doing some
They're not
digging.
Exactly police-friendly at the Boston Globe.
Not exactly police-friendly.
No.
We're going to tell you exactly how in a second here. So they are now announcing that the Mass State Police trooper who fired that shot has a, quote, long history of posting racist and profane comments on a website called Mass Cops, including some in support of police officers who shoot suspects.
Oh, my God. That we need to quarter and feather him right now. We should put his name on every single news station with a big Nazi symbol on it. He should lose his job and never be able to work ever again. He should never, ever be able to ever work anywhere because he put things on Facebook that somebody says was racist, that somebody interpreted as racist.
Well, so
ridiculous.
The spokesman for the Mass State Police is saying, quote, the tone and nature of those posts are repugnant and clearly do not reflect the values, ideals, and opinions of the Massachusetts State Police. If the author is confirmed to be a member of the State Police Department, we will take appropriate action.
Yeah, they're going to puss out like they always do. And that's one of the reasons why the bullies, the social media bullies, and the left-wing bullies have been so successful in our culture of silencing people who don't agree with them. First, what they do is if they don't like your political opinion, they label it hate. Mm-hmm. And then when you express that opinion, they complain to people saying that it's hate. And because they said it was hate,
right,
it gets taken down or you lose your job, your family leaves you, you lose your mortgage. They want to destroy you. And it's not because you're hateful. Mm-hmm. It's because you don't agree with their politics. So you're a bad person. And they have to retaliate against you. I learned that today. Hopefully you'll be talking. I learned that this week. Hopefully you'll be talking about that in another news segment.
Well, it's kind of interesting because if you read this story, so the way that this story is written by the Boston Globe, and we can read a little bit of it here. They say that this individual does not know if they were hit by a bullet or not. They believe that they were shot.
Well, and he was running away.
Most people
wasn't
usually know.
He was running away from the officer.
Listen, if I get shot, I'm pretty sure I know it.
You usually know.
I'm just saying.
Know. Yeah.
So this guy's really saying he wasn't sure if he got shot?
Montero's attorney said Wednesday that his client believes he was shot.
He believes he was shot?
He believes he was shot. Not sure, but he believes it.
All right, okay, so I'm an investigative reporter. I'm going to just throw caution to the wind. Let's just ask some questions to see if maybe some of this makes sense. Maybe we're missing something. Does he have an injury showing that maybe he got shot?
You would think.
Right?
Yeah.
Did they explain any of
goes
that?
to the territory, right?
Because today you can just say whatever you want. It doesn't have to be true, but the media will report it as true if it goes along with their political narrative. So we know the Globe hates cops. We know we know that they cheer when cops get killed, and we know that they do everything they can to humiliate law enforcement because apparently they're all a bunch of white evil racists. So what's the evidence? What's the evidence that he might believe he could have almost maybe been shot?
We'll have to see.
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
I think you should look into it. You must have some sources there that
You
could.
need to dig a little bit. Yeah.
I do. I know one of the guys that was involved that night. That's how we got the story up before anybody else on my page.
Yeah. The video, by the way, if you've seen it on social media,
It's insane.
It's
My parents
incredible.
got stuck driving home in that.
Really?
They were surrounded. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is going to be the new social justice warrior thing to disrupt society. Remember when the idiots were on 93 and they chained themselves together?
Yep.
And they found out real quickly that no matter how liberal Massachusetts people are, if you fuck with their driving, they will kill you. Right? So it doesn't really matter what their politics are. They might even agree with you, but they're running you over if you get in their way. And by the way, as it should be. I'm just saying. Anyways.
Well, so Tom,
yes.
That's how the Boston Globe and how they're covering police right now.
Yep.
So you have a very different and counter story that is very pro-law enforcement, I believe. And this was a bunch of law enforcement officials who were honored in Lawrence last night.
Yeah, so Lawrence...
And you were there, right?
Yeah, Lawrence has been hiring police officers, which is great. Dan Rivera's getting all kinds of grants, and he's been trying to move budget things around to try and increase the police presence in Lawrence, which is awesome. So we give him credit for that.
Right.
Because he's doing it. And the new chief, Chief Vask, also doing a great job, at least so far. Yesterday they had a press conference to announce that they were hiring these police officers. They brought the police officers in, all seemed to be really nice kids. And I call them kids because, like, I'm 100 years old now. So to me, everybody's a kid. And I got some video. I was live. I went Facebook Live.
Great.
I finally got out of Facebook jail. Hopefully you're going to be talking about that during the news.
I think we might have a reference to that, yeah.
But I finally got out of Facebook jail about 10 minutes before this event happened, and I realized it in the audience, so I jumped in my car and I ran. And I got some video. Now, I don't want to take away from the positiveness of hiring police officers. However, during this conversation, or during this press conference, Dan Rivera said something that kind of hit me wrong. And so I wanted to make sure I understood it. I wasn't really breaking his chops, so I'm pretty sure it came across that way. But he said something that hit me wrong. It just didn't seem right to me. It didn't seem correct, I should say.
Okay.
So I kind of asked him to clarify it a little bit, and it turned out that I actually did hear him right. Stu, maybe we can pull up that first Dan Rivera clip. This is me asking a question of the Lawrence mayor about racism in policing.
I was just wondering, you mentioned this Castro rule and race, and I'm wondering why race would have anything to do with hiring police officers. Can you explain that a little bit to those of us who think maybe we should just be hiring the best people regardless of race?
There was a time in this community where the representation of the police force was not reflective of the people who live in the community. And so a group of citizens went to court and in the case, and that case was won, I think in the 70s, and basically they said that 25% of the police force hiring practice in order to get the diversity would accomplish diversity. So that was the law of the land. Literally up till 2014, when I first came into office, and we went back to civil service and we said, hey, this isn't working out for us because it's having the adverse effect. But because and the Attorney General's office, they come to an agreement on, hey, we don't want the case to go away because we don't, for some reason the makeup of the community changes. We do want to have some diversity in the police force.
Can you just explain why you think, because you said that it wasn't reflective of the race of the people here, why is that important if police officers are just doing a great job?
That's the easiest part. What we decided, what we figured out after we did the research, there was an 80% chance that if you called for help, the responding police officer would be someone that couldn't speak your language.
Shouldn't language be the requirement, not race?
I'm just telling you that it's easier for us to respond to the needs of the community if we have police officers that have those skills. And I think that's what we have today, is that we have police officers not only that speak the language, but also understand the community in ways they would before. And so, this is a service-based operation like every other city operation, so we want to provide a good service. And I think that's we meet people where they are and not necessarily where we want them to be.
So
Oh, you can cut that, Stu. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and for those of you who had a hard time hearing it. So what he basically said, guys, was that there's this state law called the Castro Rule, where it was implemented so that 25% of police hires would have to be minority, which, by the way, is actually the definition of racism, but we'll get to that. And that it wasn't working for Lawrence because apparently it says up to 25%, right? So they couldn't hire, if they were hiring 4 people, they couldn't hire 2 minorities. And so what he said was it wasn't working for us. It was having the adverse effect of what we wanted because it didn't reflect the population of the people that we're serving. So naturally people who think for themselves and don't just buy into propaganda would ask, which is what I asked, why is that important? What does it matter what someone's skin color is? And he said, well, you know, people would go call the police and the person wouldn't speak their language. So, okay. Next most logical question, then why is race the issue and not language? Why shouldn't we just have a mandate that anybody who wants to become a Lawrence police has to learn Spanish?
Right.
And he didn't even really seem to like that idea because then white people who speak Spanish might get jobs.
Right.
And so he's not saying that, but that is what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
He's not saying those words, but that's what he's saying.
Right.
So he was really unhappy that more white people were getting jobs than minorities, which again, definition of racism, textbook definition of racism. And so, well, look, I think it's great that we've got 7 cops. And I don't care what the process is, how they were hired. Hopefully they do a great job. Hopefully they're safe out there.
Hopefully they're safe,
They don't get hurt.
Yep.
And hopefully they can back up their guys and they can do a great job for the people. But I have a real hard time with any elected official in the United States of America in 2018, 17, 18, where are we now? 18. I don't even know anymore.
Yep.
You know, having conversations, even in public no less, about how it is that we have to hire people based on the color of their flipping skin.
Right.
This isn't the 60s. And really what he said was, there's no way around it. We didn't want to hire more white people. That's what he was saying. And I've got a real problem with that. And Dan Rivera is not a racist. I'm not saying he's a racist. I know liberals believe if you say something that is racist, that makes you racist. I don't believe that. I think people who aren't racist can say things that are racist all the time and doesn't still make them racist. So I don't think Dan's a racist at all. But he has some very bizarre views on race. And when you're hiring somebody based on their race, that is the textbook definition of race. So,
well, your question was fair.
I tried to be fair. And by the way, kudos to him. He very easily could have said, hey, listen, I'm not going to put up with that race crap today. And he could have just moved on. But he answered the question.
Yeah, he did.
And that's, by the way, one of the reasons I really do like Dan Rivera, even though we agree on almost nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So, all right. I've already eaten like an hour out of news just chatting about other stuff, but that's okay.
Well, but we got to ask you about one more thing. And that is, you know, while we're on sort of police blotter type stuff, Tom Duggan was in Facebook jail this week.
Yeah. How much time you got?
Well, we got a little bit.
We got a 2-hour show. Sorry. Hey, Mark Roberge from Prospect Hill says, so we're not going to get to you. They just asked me a question. It's going to take 3 hours to answer that.
I go on the Facebook page, and there's a picture of Tom, and his mouth is covered because he's censored by Facebook.
Yeah.
So how do you find out that you're in Facebook jail?
What is this? What? Come on.
I don't know which question to answer first. So I go online first thing in the morning, whatever day that was, because all my days, I don't sleep, so every day merges into the next day. And I couldn't sign on. And a notification came up with something that I had posted about the transgender girl who was a wrestler who won the championship. I don't know if you saw it was a big story last week. Yeah. And what I basically posted was, this girl has a mental illness, and it's not helping her that everyone around her is pretending that she doesn't have a mental illness. And it's not helping her that she thinks she's a boy, and everybody is pretending she's a boy. Basically, that's what I said. Because you know what? Not for anything. I'm sorry if I'm hurting people's feelings, but facts are facts, right? Men and women, newsflash here on the Paying Attention radio program podcast, men are men and women are women. Men have different brain chemistry than women. Every single cell in their body has a chromosome women don't have, or maybe women have that men don't have. Men and women are not the same. So if Bruce Jenner wants to wear a dress, listen, if everybody around him wants to pretend he's a woman, that's fine if that's what they want to do. But don't tell me I'm a bad person because I'm not playing along. Because as far as I'm concerned, Bruce Jenner is Bruce Jenner is Bruce Jenner. Now, I do have one caveat to that we talked about last week. If he had his male genitalia taken off, like if he's that committed to being a woman, then I'm willing to play along. Like if you're just walking around wearing a dress and I'm supposed to call you Nancy, listen, I'm sorry if I'm hurting your feelings. I'm not calling you Nancy. I'm just not going to do it. All right? So to me, truth is important. That's what I posted. Facebook called it hate. And
so did someone report you?
Somebody had reported me. And so all of a sudden I couldn't post, I couldn't like, I couldn't read my instant messages. And by the way, they don't tell you how long you're in jail. Right? So as far as you know, it's indefinite until they just decide to let you back out. And so about an hour after I went into Facebook jail, I got 3 more notifications because apparently the little snowflakes that reported the first thing decided to go through the rest of my news feed back to 2009 when I started my account.
That's commitment.
And now I've had over 200 things reported and removed from my Facebook page.
Wow.
They've removed 1/3 of the photos in my photo gallery because apparently now photos are offensive, right? I had a photo gallery of me when I was the MC at the Greater Boston Tea Party's Tax Day Tea Rally a few years ago. Gone. They're all gone. The videos are gone.
Wow.
The pictures are gone.
Wow.
Because apparently seeing a sign about the Tea Party is hate, and that's going to make somebody go do a school shooting or something.
Wow.
According to the left-wing fascists. So Facebook is a fascist organization. They don't care about free speech. They care that you think what they want you to think, and if you don't, they're going to silence you. And I made phone calls. You wouldn't believe the phone calls I made. You think I'm tough?
Probably would believe it.
You think I'm tough when I'm in a good mood? You should see me when I'm pissed. And I was on the phone with and by the way, you call Facebook, you can't get a real person for the first 4 hours you try.
Right. They don't want to talk
apparently
to you.
Facebook, there's nobody that actually works there. It's all bots and Mark Zuckerberg somewhere with a laptop.
Right.
And so I finally did get someone on the phone. And I explained to them who I am and what I do, right? I'm not just some guy who's out there trying to hate on transgenders. I'm a news guy with a radio show, and I'm trying to spur a debate on these issues and discussion on these issues so the public will make their own mind up. I don't care if they agree with me or they don't agree with me. She was having none of it, or he was having none of it. I have a feeling he might have been a transgender, the guy I had on the phone. So I banged my head on my desk for like 2 straight days because I couldn't get on Facebook. But we found a way around it. And I'm not going to say live how we found a way around it, but we found a way around it. And within an hour, my Facebook page was back up.
Really?
So I don't know how long that's going to last.
Right.
Because by the end of this show, I might have lost my Facebook account again. But yeah, that's what happened. And it's very scary because as funny as it is, and as funny as I try to make it, the fact is they can silence you. And not only silence you, but they can purge your page. They can edit your page. They can pull down things that represent what you believe or what you're trying to express about what someone else believes.
Right.
And when 1 or 2 people control all of the tech companies on the planet, that's the beginning of the next Nazi Germany. It really is. Because if you're going to get if you're afraid to say what you really believe because you're afraid you're going to lose your privilege to be on Facebook. Look, I use Facebook for my business.
Right.
I mean, I can't even tell you how much money I lost the 2 days that I couldn't even access my instant messaging because I had potential advertisers going, hey, Tom, can you send me some rates? How much to sponsor the bash? Hey, we've got a gift basket for your raffle. For 2 days, I couldn't access any of that stuff.
Yeah, not cool.
So I don't know what the solution is. I think one of the solutions, government needs to regulate all of these social media platforms as if they are monopolies, and they're providing content even though they're lying and saying that they're not.
Right.
If they're going to take down my post because they don't like my position, that means they're controlling content. And if they're controlling content, they need to be regulated by the government. Who would have thought you'd hear right-wing Republican Tea Party Tom Duggan saying the government should regulate anything?
Yep.
But this is scary.
Yep. Well, if you think censorship is bad, wait till you hear the next story Meredith has. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
A dairy business has announced it is going to turn away customers who appear to be Republicans. According to Bill Williams, owner of the store, which is some kind of repair shop for Apple computers, if you affiliate with the Republican Party, you are not welcome in our store. We will not offer you service. As if that's not bad enough, Williams says the decision of whom to turn away is based on a person's looks. He says the store decides who's a Republican, quote, just by the way you look in person or in a photo. Asked why he is imposing this new policy, he says, at this point, the Republicans are the biggest threat to causing World War III.
Right.
I'm dying to go down there.
So the guy who acts like a Nazi by refusing service to people that he thinks he might not like is saying that those people are the dangers to democracy.
Yeah, I think we should all go down there and see if he can.
Here's what we should do. So everybody that's listening that wants to get even with this guy, I got the perfect solution for you. We were talking to Jonathan about it earlier today. So what you do is you go into the store, but go with a bunch of friends, right?
Yeah.
And you get a cart, What kind of shop is this?
A repair shop for Apple.
Oh, so it's a repair shop. So you go in with your laptop, you go in with your desktop, you put it down, you explain to the guy all the problems you're having with viruses, you take like an hour of his time, and then just as he's about to like sign the thing and ask you for your credit card, go, hey, that's weird. Did you see that news story about the guy that wouldn't service Republicans? I'm the president of the Wyndham Tea Party. I can't believe that guy. And then watch him try to refuse your service.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Now, if he tries to take your credit card, that's when you go, you know what? I think you're that guy. Take your credit card back and walk out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the whole hour and a half he was talking to you, he wasn't making a sale,
yeah,
right?
right.
Bastard.
Drives me crazy.
It's kind of weird, though.
Insane.
Like, if he was denying a cake to a gay person, though, I'm pretty sure the government would step in on that.
Right. No, it's okay to discriminate against Republicans.
If you want to discriminate against white people, Catholics, Christians, people with conservative political views, that kind of racism, labeling, and stereotyping is okay today. At the same time, we get lectured that labeling and stereotyping is bad.
Right.
Right? But it's only bad if it's labeling and stereotyping against a group that votes Democrat. Right?
Right.
So if it's a gay group, a transgender group, if it's a group that hates war, you can't label lesbians, it can be Muslims, anything that the left likes that votes Democrat, don't label and stereotype them. But if they don't, well, labeling and stereotyping is okay.
Right.
Right? Because racism isn't really racism if it's people we don't like.
Yeah. Makes
unbelievable.
Me mad. Insane.
Talk about unbelievable stories. Tom, did you must have heard, you must have been following, it was a particularly violent week in the Merrimack Valley, and perhaps the most shocking story of all by far happened in Winchester last weekend.
Yeah, we reported that live.
Yeah.
We had that. We had that before all the Boston channels.
Yep. So this was a young lady, Deanna Kenny Stryker, who was a first-year medical student. She was brutally stabbed to death as she sat studying inside the Winchester Public Library on Saturday. And her alleged murderer, one Jeffrey Yao, aged 23, allegedly stabbed her 20 times in what appears to be a completely random act of violence.
Well, as long as we ban guns, then we shouldn't be worried about these things.
Yeah. Yao is being held without bail on a murder charge, and his lawyer has said that his, quote, history of mental illness, including multiple hospitalizations, is unquestionably related to the slaying. Yeah, I mean, are we safe anywhere at this point?
No.
If that happens inside the Winchester Public Library.
Listen, we have been lulled into a sense of false security in our free society. In the year 2018, you're not safe anywhere. Now, the good news is, one of the reasons that you're not safe anywhere is because we're more free, right? We're more free than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You're very safe in downtown Beijing. You know why? Because if somebody looks at you the wrong way, they can be shot. So nobody dares to pick your pocket, right? Nobody dares to break into your house. Nobody dares to, start a fight. Nobody domestically beats their wives. Because if you do, they kill you. Here in this country, we have more freedoms, and we're not safe. President Trump said something yesterday that I wished that the snowflakes in Generation Snowflake would understand, and that's that gun-free zones is like a giant flashing billboard that says shoot here. Because if you're a maniac with a gun and you want to go kill a bunch of people and you plan on getting away with it, you're not planning on suicide, right? You're not planning on suicide by cop. Where are you going to go? Like, I go to AMC movie theater. Now, I pack, right? I go to my AMC movie theater, and before you walk in, there's a sign that says gun-free zone. I laugh. Because you want to know something? I'm walking in anyway. I'm going to the movie anyway. But if someone walks in with a gun, I'm walking out alive.
Right.
Maybe everybody else is going to be dead because they're all gun-free. I'm going home that day.
There you
Right.
go. Yep.
And that's what people need to understand, what these gun-free zones are. I would argue that the Democrats want this chaos. They want gun-free zones. They want children to be shot because it allows them to ramp up people's emotions to try and take people's guns. And that's their ultimate goal. They want to take your guns because an armed populace is hard to control. And they want to control you. And look at what's going on with Facebook and YouTube and Google and everything else that we talked about. So.
Well, my previous story,
I'd go on 9 more hours on
jinxed
that.
myself because my computer froze.
Uh-oh, you need...
I am going to have to go to that guy's shop.
You're going to have to. That's not... He's bugging you right here.
So, Lawrence General Hospital recently hosted a team of journalists from Time magazine who were following an expectant mother on methadone who was living with a foster family in the area. The 3-person Time crew was at Lawrence General to document the newborn baby's first breath after a C-section and to spend time with the family post-delivery. This is just one of many stories in a special issue issue of Time focused entirely on the national opioid epidemic, which is due out on March 5th. In advance of the printed version of the magazine, the coverage also includes an online blog by acclaimed photojournalist James Nachtwey and a series of videos, both of which are now available to the public on the Time website. Have you checked it out yet?
I haven't, no.
I haven't either.
I'm so busy. I haven't had a chance to really do much of anything. It's crazy. My life is crazy. That's actually a pretty good story.
And we should point out, ripped from the pages of the Valley Patriot.
Yeah, no, I always like when you do that. I appreciate when you point that out.
Yep.
Because we do. People who follow us, and it's a small group of people. I got like 11,000 people that follow me on my Facebook page, like another 7,000 on the Valley Patriot page, and then between 5,000 and 10,000 on each other platform, LinkedIn, Twitter, all that. If you're following us, you're going to get the news sometimes 2 or 3 days before Channel 4, 5, 7, Fox 25, or the Globe report it.
Right.
And we got this press release really early because we know somebody at Lawrence General.
Oh, cool.
And we put it up. And one of the girls that works there said, "Oh, my God, I just got this in my inbox 5 minutes after I read it on you." I said, "Yeah, we got a little bit of an advance because we know people everywhere."
Right,
That's right.
But mostly, I'll give you my secret, it's because I'm a flirt. Now, people think that, he's sexist, he flirts with everyone. No. There's a method to my madness. I'm an investigative reporter. And if I can flirt with every secretary in every school I walk into, every nurse, every secretary in every hospital I go into, one of those girls is going to remember me the next time I call and say, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" They're going to remember me because I'm the guy that was flirting with them, right? And they either liked it or they didn't like it, but they're going to remember it.
That's right.
And so it's one of the reasons why I do what I do. I've just kind of worked it into my personality now because I've been doing it for so long. But it's less about me trying to pick anybody up and more about me just trying to make that connection so they'll remember me when I call and go, "Hey, you've been working at that hospital or that school for a long time. I just got a tip on something. I won't use your name. Can you just confirm it for me? Just tell me if it's real or it's not real." And that helps me do my job because it's 10 fewer phone calls I have to make.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Right.
All right.
So...
Well, Tom, we're almost out of time, but just want to mention quickly before we go that there was a story this week about Wilmington State Representative James Maselli.
I saw that this morning.
Collapsed and was transported by ambulance to a hospital from the Omni Parker House on Wednesday during a meeting of House Democrats that were there for a caucus. And he's 82 years old. He's represented Wilmington and Tewksbury since 1977. And it was reported subsequently, someone was saying that he was conscious and talking to his family at the hospital. So hopefully everything is okay there. We pass along our best wishes to him. Hopefully speedy recovery, but scary stuff.
I think the best thing for Jim, I've known Jim for a long time. I don't know him well, right? But when I bump into him, we know each other and we chat about stuff. He ran for Congress at one point.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like really the only one that made any sense out of anybody that was running. There was 19 people in that race, including Jamie Eldridge. It was crazy debates that we did. Jim's a really good guy, and he doesn't check all the boxes for the Democrat Party.
Right.
But he's got a very tough challenger this year in Pina Prinzavali.
Yep.
She's a Republican who's doing a Diana DiZoglio-style campaign.
Yep.
She's knocking on every single door. Now, he's an 80-something-year-old guy. He can't knock every door.
Right.
And I still didn't think she really had much of a chance, but now that I'm hearing the story, and I hope he's okay.
Right.
But I think now hearing the story, maybe the best thing for him is to kind of go out on a high note, take care of his health.
Yep.
Because I would hate to have him run for re-election, win, and then because of the stress, die on us.
Right.
And he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And we wish the best for him. And maybe this is time. There's somebody who's really competent who can step into the job now.
Yep.
And that's Pina. And hopefully it just works out for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, we do wish him the best.
Yeah. I'm trying hard not to make it sound like I'm trying to politically capitalize on his health issue, even though I really kind of am. I'm just trying to make it not look that way.
We'll give an A for effort.
I do like Pina. She's so adorable. She is so adorable. Every time I see her, I look at her and I go, you know what? Now I just want to go home and bake a pie. Like, she looks so wholesome. She's like this wholesome little Italian girl. So for fun, she's coming to the bash.
Oh, nice.
She already said she was coming. So I've tasked somebody on the bash committee. Hopefully she's not watching. I tasked somebody in the bash committee to go to Man Orchards and get an apple crisp, and we're going to bring her out a pie during the bash.
Nice.
She's nice. I like her a lot.
She's awesome.
Bash coming up on March 23rd, right?
Yes.
And you actually just recently announced nominees for the First Amendment Award for this year.
I did.
So we'll just briefly say that those nominees are Methuen Representative Linda Campbell, Turtle Boy, Mark Demers, Jana DiNatalie, and Jessica, help me with this last name. Finicaro.
Yeah.
Finicaro. Sorry about that.
So every year at our annual bash, we give out a bunch of awards. We do police awards, the Office of Tom Duggan Hero Award.
Great cause.
It's a good cause. All the money goes to charity.
Yep.
Well, not all the money, but most of it goes to charity. Some of it goes to help the Valley Patriot with expenses because we run the event. we do all kinds of awards. So we do a police award, we do veteran award, we give an award for writers and editor's choice award for people who write for us that write outstanding stuff.
Right.
And we do a First Amendment award. And the First Amendment award it's one of my favorite parts of the night because there are people out there, just as we talked about with the Facebook thing, there's people out there that are fighting for the First Amendment and getting punished for it.
Right.
And whether they're an elected official or they're just a person in the community who's having their First Amendment rights taken away from them and they're fighting it, we look for those kind of people and honor them at the event because without the First Amendment, we have no free press. No free press means no Valley Patriot. No Valley Patriot means no charity bash. It means no show here. It means no book.
Right.
It means no heroes in our midst. So First Amendment is pretty important to us at the Valley Patriot. And can we just take 1 second to say why each person was nominated? Who's the first person? Linda Campbell?
Yes. Yep.
So Linda Campbell got nominated. She was one of the co-sponsors of my public records bill that I wrote 4 years ago.
Right.
That finally got passed last year.
Got a lot of
4 years
attention
after
for
fighting
that.
it.
Yep.
So she co-sponsored it. We wanted to make sure she at least got a nomination. Who's the next name on the list?
Turtle Boy.
Turtle Boy's presenting a problem because they got nominated and they got more votes than anybody else.
Uh-oh.
And we kind of have to give them the award, but we are honoring a state trooper that night.
Right.
And they're going after the state police. And so we're trying to figure a way to get both done without both sides being mad at us.
Right,
and it's not working out very well.
Yeah.
So what we may do is hold Turtle Boy's award till next year. That'll be the big 15th anniversary bash.
Right.
There you go.
And honor the state police. And then we got word from the state police that they may just not be coming now. And if that's the case, then we have to go back and tell people that the award company to make up the Turtle Boy award again. So we don't know what we're going to do with that. And who's the next one?
Mike Demers.
Mike Demers is the guy that was on this show. He's the guy that's getting sued by Hafner's and Acadia Insurance. They're trying to make him take down his Facebook posts and his Twitter posts.
Hafner's?
Yeah, Hafner's Oil and Acadia Insurance.
What did he post?
Well, Hafner's overflowed his mom's gas tank with 250 gallons of oil that went down into the ground and then refused to clean it up to Mr. Demers' satisfaction. So he's got a boycott campaign online, and they're suing him, not for money, but they're suing him to silence him online they want the judge to order him to take down his boycott Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts.
Did they
and LinkedIn
deny that they did it?
No. They went out to the site. They cleaned some of it up, but not to the family's satisfaction. And Mr. Demers sued them, but he represented himself, so he lost.
Oh.
And so now his argument is, okay, well, legally they don't have to fix my mom's place up the way they promised they would, but they looked my mom in the eye and they promised they were gonna. And I think they should keep their word, whether the judge says they have to or not. So I'm going to keep my boycott campaign going until they do, and they're trying to silence him. So that's why he got his nomination.
Right.
And then who's next?
Jana DiNatale.
Jana DiNatale got nominated from the floor last year at the bash because the week earlier, the Methuen School Committee had an illegal secret meeting. And not only did they hold an illegal secret meeting that they said was for the purpose of litigation, meaning lawsuits for the school department. But the following meeting, they came out and put in their minutes that that's what they actually discussed when they didn't. And Jana called them on it publicly.
Yeah.
And I think that deserved a nomination. I actually think that deserves the actual award.
Right.
Because ever since then, they've piled on Jana DiNatale, and she's kind of like she's the odd person out now on the school committee. No one will talk to her. They beat her up every time she comes up with an idea. Methuen Mayor Jim Jajuga dressed her down the other night. We're going to talk a lot about that later on, and it will be in the next edition of the Valley Patriot.
Okay. And last but not least, Jessica Finicaro.
Jessica's going through the same thing. She's a Methuen city councilor. She brings up an idea, and she gets the crap beat out of her by people who should know better. And it's not just that they're poo-pooing her idea, they're poo-pooing her.
Right.
And they're speaking to her very disrespectfully, and they're attacking her personally, and they've kind of edged her out too, and she exposed it publicly because they had a meeting that wasn't televised. And they pretended that it was a workshop type meeting among the city councilors where no decisions were being made, but decisions on the budget were being made because she was sitting right there.
Right.
So she blew the lid on it, and the Loop attacked her, the Tribune attacked her, the mayor attacked her, her fellow city councilors attacked her, and I said, you know what? She stood up for the free press. She stood up for free speech. I'm the one who actually nominated her for that, actually.
Very good.
All good nominations.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see who gets the actual award.
Yep.
And that's coming up at the Bash, which is March 23rd at Fireman's Relief Inn, which is at 1 Market Street in Lawrence. That's from 5 p.m. till Well, 11 p.m. or whenever it's over. Which
they throw us out of the after party at 2:30.
So you got March 24th, March 25th.
Right.
Just when it's over.
And then we have a hotel room for the after party. Now the only way to get to the after party, Meredith, you have to come. I mean, Fred, you can come with her if you want, but Meredith has to be there.
Okay.
So if you're there, there at the after party when they throw us out, that's the only way you can get to the after party. If you leave to go somewhere else, I'm not telling you where we're going to be.
That's past my bedtime.
But if you're with us at 2:30, we go to the Holiday Inn behind Friendly's on 114 in Lawrence. We get the whole floor. I pay off the night manager not to book anybody on that floor. I give him a $100 bill the night before. We've been doing this for 5 years now. It's worked out very well. No complaints.
Okay.
And we have a bunch of rooms upstairs, and people can do whatever they want, and you don't have to worry about people complaining about loud music or smoking cigarettes or anything else.
Okay.
And we do have one rule for the after party, though, and I know Mark Roberge knows because I think he was at the one 2 years ago when Prospect Hill was at the bash. No cell phones. You turn your cell phone in at the door. No cameras. Because if people are drinking and they're saying things while they're intoxicated, we don't want that to come back and hurt them with their job later. We don't want it to hurt them with their relationship with their wife or their girlfriend later. So you turn your cell phone in. You can do whatever you want after that.
Happens at the after party
stays at the after party.
Literally there you go.
Means,
okay. Yep. Very good.
Got it.
Well, listen, we'll just mention, so the Bash and the Valley Patriot are always accepting sponsorships, and this is a great cause. And I got to tell you, I mean, this is, aside from the fact that it's a great cause and supporting some very worthy people, this is a great deal. I mean, you have sponsorships here for as little as $250. You can get some fantastic advertising in the Valley Patriot and some visibility at the Bash. And, of course, the sponsorships go up from there and accepting any amounts, really. Right. But $1,000, $2,000, anything would be greatly appreciated.
And anyone that donates $1,000 or $2,000, that money will go directly to a scholarship.
Right.
And we will allow you to come up at the Bash and present that scholarship to the actual kid who's getting it.
What better cause is that?
Right.
I mean, right?
And as a sponsor, we're giving each sponsorship level.
Yep.
We'll give you free print ads in the Valley Patriot in the program. We'll mention you when we go live Facebook. We'll mention you on this program.
I mean, that's big.
So it's a full publicity package. Right. And none of the money goes in our pocket. So
that's right.
We're trying to help homeless veterans. We're trying to help kids get to college. We got a bunch of nonprofits that we're trying to help out. And,
excellent. Always a good time and a good cause. So.
And you guys are going to be live from the event.
Yes,
we will
be
there.
That's going to be there. Great. Every 5 minutes during the event, I'm going to be stopping the award program. Hey, what's Meredith doing over there? Meredith, are you live yet? And you got to wear red.
Looking forward to it.
You got to wear red.
Okay.
That's a rule.
Should be interesting.
All right.
All right, that's your news.
That's
today.
it. That's all there is.
Well, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
A lot going on.
And I got guests here waiting. It's 2:42. We're so over program.
That's
all right. So we're gonna try and squeeze everything in now. Let's take a quick break, Stu. I thank you for being my fine producer today. He always does a great job. I'm still trying to get used to this whole podcast thing. So as we move forward, we'll be changing format stuff.
Okay.
So thank you for wearing red today. And thanks for sitting next to me instead of putting Fred there.
No offense taken.
No. He gets it. He gets it, right? Back after this. Oh, we're already in.
This is Speaker Newt Gingrich, and I'm listening to Paying Attention with Tom Duggan.
This is Robert Clary. I'm the author of From the Holocaust to Hogan's Heroes on Madison book. And you're listening to Paying Attention.
This is Jill Stein, and you're listening to Paying Attention.
Hi, I'm Joe Zingales.
And I'm Rosanna Zingales-Lopez.
We advertise in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why?
Because it really works.
Hi, I'm Allie from EIS Inc. We provide security, investigations, and training. We advertise in the Valley Patriot. Why? Because it really works.
Twin Lights Security and Investigations advertises in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why? Because it really works. But don't take our word for it. Just ask our advertisers. They'll tell you advertising in the Valley Patriot newspaper really works.
And once again, on the United Podcast Network, you are paying attention. And here's your host, also once again, Tom Duggan.
By the way, if you ever come up to Studio Podcast Cafe, Studio 21, you got to see Sean the barista. This is literally the best coffee I've ever had in my life. And if you know me, you know I don't just say those kinds of things. Like if I thought it really sucked, I would tell you. But it's excellent coffee. I actually think about, Sean the barista, I actually think about your coffee all flipping week. Every time I go through Dunkin' Donuts and I take a sip, I go, yeah, it's not Sean the barista's coffee, that's for sure. That's for sure. We wrote a segment for Sean the barista. We're going to give him a permanent segment on the show because he's absolutely rip-roaring hysterical. Sitting with me now here on the Paying Attention program, thank you to Twin Light Security, Century 21 Teams in Dallas, A&M Auto Body. I don't know why I keep saying A and B, but A&M Auto Body. And who did we leave out? There's somebody else. We'll figure it out in a second. Sitting with me today is somebody that I always try to go out of my way to support because she's doing the work of the angels. Karina Papalato, who's sitting to the far left here, is the head of the Greater Lawrence Psychological Center. And the Psychological Center has a number of programs, one of the most important of which, is the Daybreak Homeless Shelter in Lawrence. And rather than me tell you what they do, I think maybe it'd probably be better if she tells you what they do. Because what I thought we could do today is kind of educate people about what you guys do, what Daybreak does, but also talk about some solutions as to how we can motivate our politicians to fund what you guys do and to support what you guys do, because it doesn't seem like you're getting a lot of support.
Well, you know it's a big task. Thanks for having us, Tom. Always appreciate the support that you give us. Daybreak Shelter, you know, is located in Lawrence, 19 Winter Street. We're an emergency homeless shelter, and it's a wet shelter. So what makes us different from others, we allow people to come in under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and we won't turn them away. We want to just make sure that they're safe and that we can give them the environment that they should be in.
And most won't do that, right?
No, that's correct. Again, 1 of 2 in Massachusetts. Really unique, so the only one in Essex County. Daybreak Shelter has been around for a long time. We have 50 beds, 35 male beds, 15 female beds. That's 50 beds, but at this current time, the state's only funding us for 38. However, we know that there's a lot of people out there in a very big need. We want to make sure that all of our beds are full. So we will always be at capacity, and and some nights over the capacity.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain to people why it's important that you guys be a wet shelter? There's only 2 in the state, which is kind of staggering to me, because as somebody who drives around Lawrence and chases police calls and spends a lot of time in Lawrence, I can't imagine it's 3 degrees below zero, and a guy who maybe is addicted to heroin or maybe he's had a couple of drinks shows up at a homeless shelter because he's cold and he has nowhere to go, and that they would turn him away because of his state of sobriety. So why is it important that these homeless shelters, especially your homeless shelter, be a wet shelter?
I mean, as you could imagine, them dying on the streets, freezing out there, just because they couldn't get in, just to find that warmth is what is the most important. Mm-hmm. Safety is really important. And here I have today with me Brooke Armstrong. She actually is at the shelter. That's where she works full time. She's one of our best case managers, and she's going to tell you what it's like as an individual, one of our welcome guests that comes in, and what the process is like for them, and how many people we're helping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here. I'm very nervous.
That's okay. Give me your name again.
Brooke.
Brooke, okay.
Armstrong,
I'll remember that.
So if I could briefly just say something on my opinion as far as why it's important to have a wet shelter. It's because, as one might be able to imagine, it can't be easy to go from living on the street to just waking up one day, with nothing and thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get my life together. You need a little support, a little foundation to start from, and that's what our program provides. So what it looks like in the beginning is someone will come in and we'll get an initial intake done on them. And that will just be like a kind of, brief summary of what's going on with them, where they're at, kind of the services they're looking for. Again, regardless of the situation, clean, sober or not, what they want to do, we get them in, we secure them a bed, they come in, they get to take a warm shower, get a hot meal. We serve dinner and snack as well. We provide them with things that they may not have, clothing. You know, they don't have to have their own toiletries. We help them with that. And then they're just kind of free to, you know, to go out, smoke, whatever the case may be, watch TV. A lot of them like to, you know, play cards, interact with each other in the dining room. And then depending on what they want to do, what happens next. We usually give them a few days to see what's going on. If they come in active, for example, and they don't want help.
When you say active, what do you mean? You mean
like using drugs or alcohol. Some of them don't want help right away, or you know, there's a lack of security that they feel. They don't realize that we really want to help them because their trust issues are down, and so that's what we work on at first, kind of engaging with them, making them feel safe, and letting them know that like they have support. And then some people, you know, they would like to continue and start to better their lives, and that's where we really try to take it from there, whether it's detox or our sister programs. We try to get them into, we help with housing, get them into IOPs, therapy. We get them set up with like clothing vouchers and refer them out to other programs to help build resumes, like all things that, a foundation that you need in order to create a life, you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys, I did a story, it seems like it was yesterday, but I guess maybe it was like 2 years ago or so, where you had an individual that came through and went through all of your programs, and you ended up finding him placement, I think, in Haverhill, and then he decided to come back and help. And I'm trying to remember his name, but remember I came and I interviewed him, and he's now kind of making it his goal, now that he's put himself back on track. You guys helped him get back on track, and he's coming back to Daybreak and helping you guys out. Do you get a lot of success stories like that, or is that like the aberration? Is it mostly people that come and they stay temporarily and then they kind of disappear?
Many more and more success stories, especially with this new program that the state has, and that the model that we're following. It's TEA, so it's triage, engage, and assess. And everyone comes in, has that case manager. So they're working with someone individually to support them along the way. And the success rate has really skyrocketed. It's taken off. We have a lot of people, and Brooke can address this a little bit more too, but a lot of people who are getting employed, getting housed, they're moving on afterwards, and then they'll stay in contact with us. They always know that they have us for support in case they need that.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you want to share? A couple of success stories that we've recently had?
Yeah, we've had actually multiple, depending on their needs. Like we've sent a young lady out into Salem to get reunited with her children. Another woman just recently went into a halfway house and is being reunited with her children within the next week. We've had multiple people, vets, that got set up with their housing in their own places. In the past 2 weeks, we've had 4 people move on to either further treatment or their own individual places, and they usually come back and, you know, thank us for being there and letting us know that, you know, it was the difference that they needed, you know, because they have a longer stay now. There isn't a timeout period. They're just able to get it, you know, a foundation.
Have you found that people, because I'm kind of new to this whole homeless thing, right? So like a couple of years ago, I started helping a homeless veteran, and the next thing I know, I'm like the Merrimack Valley like homeless guy. I don't know how that happened. So I've been trying to, you know, help you guys out, and I'm just trying to, when I have time, to try and do it. And at least and tell me if I'm wrong, at least what I've seen and assessed is that there's a lot of these homeless people. They're almost all addicted, but a lot of them don't want help, or they're not ready for help. When you get those kinds of people and they come in and they're not ready for help, or they don't really want the help, they don't seem that they want the help, is there a strategy you guys can use to try and give them that confidence that they can think, okay, maybe if I try it this time, it'll work?
I believe so, yes. I know personally what I try to do, like I briefly mentioned earlier, is be there, because sometimes, you know, that feeling of being alone, not having anything, it's kind of hard to like, oh, well, let me better myself, because you have nothing to look forward to. So I think, you know, because we engage with them on a daily basis, and let them know that we're there for them. Is there anything we could do? And if they do fall, we don't, all right, you got to go, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing, because they're able to see, okay, they really do care, you know, we engage with them one-on-one, and like they're able to tell us stuff, and we start building that trust barrier. And then most of them want to do better, you know, because a lot of people it's a disease, and so it's not like they are enjoying their, you know, life and what's going on, but sometimes they don't realize there's a way out or necessarily have the support to get out of it.
That engagement piece is huge, Tom. Think about it. You know, they have been harmed and taken advantage of for a very long time. This hasn't happened overnight. So to walk into a place and to actually trust someone who is providing this safety net for you isn't easy. So it's being available to them, and just when they're ready, we are here for the ones who are still, you know, tinkering with the idea. Should we? And one of the things, too, that Brooke mentioned, in the past, you know, and this has come up, and I still hear this every so often, oh, we're a 30-day shelter, and we have this big ban, you know, and some people can't come in, which is not the case. So there's no 30-day limit. You're not kicked out for 90 days before you come back. Right now, it's unlimited. You come in, if you're working on something with our support, then you can stay as long as you want. And as a matter of fact, most people, we're saving those beds for them because we know that once they feel secure with us and that they feel secure knowing that they have a place to be at night, it takes a lot off their mind. They can go to work and come back and have that bed. They can be out having treatment, coming back to have that bed. So that's important. We have people that might call out because they're going to spend the night with a family, right, with a child. I'm not going to be home tonight. That's calling Daybreak Shelter home. Unbelievable. I mean, I've always been proud of this agency and of that program, but that just brings such joy to my heart. Incredible. We have a wait list for people to get in there. You know, but it's great because we've been having so many people transition out that we have those open beds for them.
I think one of the problems that you guys probably face the most, and I've seen it because I talk to a lot of the homeless people in Lodge. By the way, they're all great news sources too, by the way, because they know everything that's going on in the city. But you know, it seems as though that one of the problems is that what you were outlining, and you kind of glossed over it, I want to make sure we highlight it more, is that there are these rumors that go out on the street. And I remember when I came across one of the guys that I brought to you guys, he said, I said, we found him sleeping on the street, right? It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I said, well, there's a homeless shelter literally a block from here. Get in my car, I'll drive you. He goes, no, I'll walk, but they won't take me. I said, what do you mean they won't take you? I don't have an ID. And I said, well, I'd never heard that. And so I called Karina, and Karina goes, no, that's not true. So eventually we ended up getting him in. But there's a lot of people on the street who say, you know, I've been banned from there, or I was told that I was banned from there, or I don't have an ID, so I can't get in. But they've never actually physically tried to do that. They're going by what someone told them. So all of those rumors hinder your ability to do your job and get people in, because once they're in, it's not just a homeless shelter. Nope. You guys have like a next step type program for people that want to go and get a job, job training, resume training. You even have people like barbers donate their time to give people haircuts if they're going for a job interview. Can you talk about like that next step? Once someone comes through Daybreak and they're not a problem, they're not causing fights or problems, and they say they want help, can you talk about that next step, that what you guys do for them?
So within the shelter from Daybreak, for females at least, we have 2 female residential recovery programs. Pegasus House, which is for women between the age of 18 and 25, and Women's View is for women over the age of 25. So if we have a female that wants to get into that long-term residential recovery treatment, we can help place her in that bed, which is amazing. We can use those 2 programs that we have. And then Brooke can tell you a little bit more about some other opportunities that we have in that next step for that transitional living, and, you know, how to keep people successful on their own, because they have to be able to do it on their own.
You don't want them backsliding. They make some kind of gains, and you don't want them backsliding. Yeah.
Right. So as I kind of mentioned, and Karina touched upon too, the biggest thing is the bed that they have. You know, they don't have to worry about coming back and lining up, so they have the ability to leave their stuff there, which makes them feel comfortable and even want to go get a job. So they come in with no ID. We help them get an ID. We send them over to the registry. We help them get their birth certificates. We have outside sources that come in and will actually give them, help them to pay for it. And then we'll send them over to places like the Career Center. And they will sit there with them and build their resume with them. Also at the Career Center, they have multiple things like jobs that are hiring. We also have things that we post all over the place for places that are hiring, and let them know things that we're doing. And then moving a little bit further, you know, when I sit down with like my clients and I'll talk to them about like, you know, maybe some resources. Some of them think that they can't even get a bank account, or that they're not, but there's other ways around that. There's other things you can do, and that's what we try to show them, because not only is you do have to have a job, you have to start working on savings and living within your means and your needs and your wants.
And that's got to be impossible seem impossible for someone who's homeless, because they may owe $1,000 on their last electric bill from the last place they got evicted. They might owe money to the electric company, the phone company. They may not be able to open up a bank account for themselves, and you guys kind of help them walk through that process so it's less intimidating and it doesn't seem like it's insurmountable for them.
I mean, look how difficult it is to have a phone call, have a phone conversation sometimes, right? I mean, you talked about Facebook earlier, 4 hours, or, so it's hard for us sometimes to fill out paperwork. It can be daunting. So for someone who has no experience with doing that, we're there for them, and we provide a lot of resources for them.
So one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on, especially this week, is we can educate people about what you guys do, but if they're not actively pressuring their elected officials to fund the Daybreak Homeless Shelter, to fund the Pegasus House and all the programs that you do at the Greater Lawrence Psychological Center, if the funding's not there, all these good things go away. You certainly can't expand on them. They're going to be reduced. And you guys have every single flipping year have to deal with cuts in your budget. You have to deal with politicians that don't want to help you. I don't want to mention which Dan Rivera I'm referring to, because that would be wrong. But you have politicians who have just come right out and said, no, I'm not ever doing anything for them. And so I think, as a person who's been an activist my whole life, the only way to counter that is to rally the troops, to get the public to understand why this is so important, and then give them instructions on what they can do to pressure their elected officials. So do you have any ideas on how we can educate and pressure our elected officials to understand how critically important this is, especially given a lot of the people who are at Daybreak aren't even from Lawrence? Some of them are from Methuen. I talked to a guy one day who said he was from Swampscott. I'm like, what the hell are you doing in Lawrence? You're from Swampscott? What are you doing up here? Well, this is a wet shelter, and this is the closest one I could find, and that's just the answer, right?
Yeah, but a lot of times it doesn't matter where you're from, first of all. We're not going to ban you if you're not from Lawrence, but we have a great amount of people who are from Lawrence. Most nights, over 50% of our population are individuals who grew up and are from Lawrence. We met a few years ago, and you've been an awesome advocate for us, and we've been working really hard. And I have to say, let's give some credit. We've been seeing more and more people are starting to help. But there are still individuals who think that we're importing the homeless and we're importing the addicts because Daybreak Shelter is there.
Right.
Completely not true. People that come to us for help are coming to us because they don't want to be dead on the street. So let's help everyone that we can. It's important. So homeless individuals, there's always funding for homeless, but it's the families who are homeless first, and the veterans who are homeless first. And I get it. They all deserve it. They're I'm not trying to take away from them. But when it comes to homeless individuals, they are the last on the totem pole. And right now, part of the coalition that we belong to, the Coalition for Homeless Individuals, we continue to fight, and we just went into Boston yesterday morning to fight for additional funding. That line is less than $50 million. I think it's a little bit over $44 million. Don't quote me on that, but we're trying to get that up to $50 million, which is still a drop in the bucket.
Right.
For so many individuals.
And that just gets you guys by. That's not to expand. That's not to help more people. That's just to continue doing what you're doing. And I have an answer when people say, and when Dan Rivera says, and I don't think he's completely wrong that we're importing homeless into Lawrence. Lawrence is importing homeless into Lawrence, but it's not Daybreak that's luring them in. It's heroin and fentanyl.
Thank you.
Nobody's coming to Lawrence because they've got a homeless shelter. They're coming to Lawrence for their drugs, and then once they're there, they become homeless, and then they end up in. It's not you guys causing it, honestly. I mean, I'd rather say to you every day, it's fentanyl and heroin. Let's call it what it is, right?
Absolutely.
So
I mean, it's continuing to reach out and work with the local delegation, the delegates, the legislators, the state senators, the state representatives. Diana DeZoglio is always a huge supporter of us. She's so amazing. We are really lucky. She got through with some help with some other candidates to get some earmarks. So as far as we know, they haven't been vetoed. We're waiting for those to come in, and we do appreciate those coming from Governor Baker.
Now, I'm going to throw a curve at you, but I want a real answer if you could, please.
Yes.
Who's not very helpful? Who is it that the public could send an email to and express their support for getting more funding for wet shelters and for specifically Daybreak and Pegasus? Who is it? Is it Frank Moran? Is it Marcos Devers? Is it Juana Matias? Is it Barbara L'Italian? Who is it that people can nicely, we don't want them to be mean because we want them on our side, right? But who is it that the public can nicely send an email to or make a phone call to and say, please make this a priority? Who is it that we need to target?
I'm going to say all of them. The only one that you really don't need to target is State Representative Diana DeZoglio, but the mayor. You know, we need to have the mayor on our side. He is running the city. That's what he's responsible for, and we need his support in addition to everybody else.
I think if 1 million people called him on the phone in one day, he still wouldn't change his mind. I don't think he's going to change his mind, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. So if you live in Lawrence and you care about the homeless situation, and I'm sure if you live in Lawrence, you care about the homeless situation, because they're either breaking into your cars or they're in your neighborhoods asking to bump cigarettes off of you, and sometimes it's a public safety issue. You ought to care. You ought to be calling the mayor, send an email to the mayor, and let him know that you think it's a priority that Lawrence at least does something. I was shocked to learn that you guys don't get a penny of city money.
Nothing. No.
So think about this, folks. You have all of these puking liberals in Lawrence that run as Democrats who claim to be progressive and care about the homeless and the downtrodden and the illegal aliens and the immigrants and everybody that they think that they want to help that's on the lower end of the scale. And yet the poorest of the poor, the people who need it the most, the homeless, people who have nothing, screw them. They don't pay not one penny? Wait a minute. You guys run for office every year as progressives who care about poor people, and not one penny? Kendris Vasquez and the city council hasn't allocated 1 penny for the homeless issue? Like, how shocking is that? Like, maybe in the world of Trump and shock, nothing shocks anybody anymore, but I was very shocked to learn that.
You know, unless they do in some other avenue, but none of it comes to Daybreak Shelter.
Yeah.
And I can tell you none of it comes to the psychological
That's got to
center.
change. And the good thing is that the Lawrence City Council gets elected every 2 years. We've got a new council now, and I've been talking to a lot of them about this very issue. And those who don't respond favorably, I'm going to be campaigning for someone to defeat them on this issue, because really, can you clean up Lawrence? Can you clean up the drugs? Can you clean up the violence? Can you clean up the garbage on the streets if you're not even taking care of your homeless people? If you don't even have just get them off the street so we can do something?
It seems like common sense.
Right. I mean, anyways, I'll get into a political rant, and I don't want to get you in trouble.
Thank you.
So we do have to take a break. We have to get Mark up here. Can you give people a phone number that they can call, or an email, or a website that they can call, or to contact you if they want to help? Maybe they might want to make a donation. Maybe they might want to drop off some clothing items or some toiletry items for the homeless. I know I got a whole car full of socks that you can take. Everybody seems to think the Valley Patriot office is the sock drop-off place now. I got a whole living room full of socks. I don't even know what to do with them anymore. I think every homeless person in Lawrence has 20 pairs of socks. They all came from my office. But where can people donate? Where can they drop off items? How can they help? How can they volunteer if they want to volunteer?
Absolutely. You know, donations are always welcome, whether it's monetary or items. We're going through a lot of socks, shoes, laundry detergent, paper plates, hygiene products. They can bring that all right to Daybreak Shelter, which is located at 19 Winter Street in Lawrence. We call it our hidden gem. Sometimes it's a little hard to find, but if you're familiar with Lawrence, you'll know exactly where it is. So bring all of those donations there. You can also find us on the website, psychologicalcenter.com. And if you ever have any questions and want to connect with me, I can be reached at 978-291-2262.
All right.
Thanks,
excellent.
Tom.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Very nice to meet you.
Will you come back?
Absolutely.
I'd like to actually do
Anytime.
a whole show. I know if you saw our first show, we had all of the police chiefs up here.
Yes.
We talked about the opioid crisis. I'd like to do another summit, but I want it to be some police and some people on the service end. See if we can't come up with some solutions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank
you
you
so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Duggan. This is the Paying Attention podcast. Coming up next, my pal, Mark Roberge, the mastermind of Prospect Hill, and he's going to talk about his new company, red13creative.com. And I think he might even have like an announcement of some kind to make. I don't know what that was all about, but if you stick around, I promise we won't disappoint on Paying Attention.
This is Sal Lapoli from Sal's Pizza, Salvatore's Restaurant, Riverwalk Properties, and you're listening to Paying Attention.
I'm Joe Zingales.
And I'm Rosanna Zingales Lopez.
We advertise in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why?
Because it really works.
Hi, I'm Allie from EIS Inc. We provide security, investigations, and training. We advertise in the Valley Patriot. Why? Because it really works.
Twin Lights Security and Investigations advertises in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why? Because it really works. But don't take our word for it. Just ask our advertisers. They'll tell you advertising in the Valley Patriot newspaper really works.
This is Mitt Romney.
This is Robert Reich. This is State Auditor Joe Danucci.
This is Warren Tolman.
This is Steve Grossman.
And you're listening
to
the Paying Attention radio program.
Paying Attention.
We get back to Paying Attention, and your host.
Hi, I'm Joe Zingales.
Here's Tom Duggan.
Hey, Joe Zingales. We love Joe Zingales. All right, so we're back. I thought that was a fascinating discussion with Corinne and Brooke. I'm actually even more shocked that I remember Brooke's name because I can't remember names for crap anymore. I'm just getting way too old. I thought it was a fascinating discussion, and we would definitely have her back on. Corinne is doing amazing work, and I get to see it firsthand. I feel very lucky. I've been at Daybreak a number of times. We actually found a guy sleeping on the street one day, and it was like literally a block from the Daybreak homeless shelter. And we're like, well, why are you sleeping here? There's a homeless shelter a block away. And he's like, yeah, they won't let me in. I don't have an ID. It was just not true. So we got him over there, and his name is Louis Rosalie. He's actually still there. That was about 3.5 months ago, and he's still there. He's actually getting ready to transition into a different program. Sitting to my left, however, is a guy who, it's funny when you meet your heroes.
Oh, stop it.
No, seriously. So, everybody knows that, I'm not a sports guy at all. I don't know a touchback from a hat trick, but I'm really into music. And I listen to music in my car all the time. I listen to it at the office all the time. I stumbled about maybe 5 or 6 years ago onto this local band called Prospect Hill. So I found it online, and I started listening. The first song that I heard was Roller Coaster, and I was like, how are these guys not multi-billionaires? This is better than Van Halen, right? So I'm listening to it constantly, and I'm someone who I never get sick of anything once I like it. I can still recite every single line from Steve Martin's Let's Get Small album. I used to listen to it when I was a kid. Because I don't have a shut-off button. Once I find something funny, it's always funny to me. Once I like a song, I'm always going to like it. So I'm listening over and over and over and over again. And then I found out they were playing local. I didn't even know you guys were a local band, right? First I found the music. I didn't find out you were a local band. I thought, I found out you were a local band. Then your dad called me. Yeah. And he said, hey, I don't know if you know me. We bumped into each other a couple of times. He started telling me my kid has this band, and you're always talking about it on Facebook. That's my kid's band. He's like, they only play locally. Why don't you come see them? So we did. We went out and watched you guys one night, and you had no idea who I was. I had no idea who you were. And I was so friggin' blown away by what you guys do in concert. Most concerts you go to today, if it's a band, they sound horrible in concert because what they do in the studio is they use all these electronics to make their voices sound good. You guys apparently don't do that. Because I'm sitting here at the Clada, and I'm listening to you guys, and it's almost better than the studio version of what you did. And I'm just completely blown away. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna meet these guys. Like I have to somehow use my small local celebrity ship to try and find a way in with these guys.
because what they're doing is amazing, and whether it's a politician or a band, I have tremendous respect for people who are really good at what they do and love what they do, and it's very obvious that you guys do. How's that for a build-up? Mark Roberge, the mastermind of Prospect Hill. Thank you so much, Tom. That was great. I didn't realize that you didn't know who we were. Yeah, at first I did. That we were local. Yeah, that's funny. Yep. And then you guys called me and said, hey, why don't you come? We're going to practice. Come hang out with us while we're practicing. You came down and we couldn't video any of that, though. Yeah, that was a fun night. That was one of my fun nights. I look back on that as one of my most fun nights. Yeah, it's been a while now. How many years have we known each other now? Maybe 6, 7? Yeah. Yep, 7. And then we get to the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is great, because you guys were going to see, once we became friends, just for people at home, once we became friends, I'm in the St. Patrick's Day Parade every year, and I put my dad's banner in the parade, and I said, you know what would be great? What if we could get Prospect Hill into the parade? And so I called Mark, and I said, listen, we're going to be in the parade next week, and before I could ask the question, he goes, yeah, how do we get into that? We want to play in the parade. We want to do something good for the local people. So they were in the parade, and I said, on the one condition, we get to be the car behind you so we can hear you through the whole parade playing your music. And you guys did. You guys played your entire repertoire through that whole parade. I got to hear it all live. It was awesome. Well, guess what? What? He gets to do it this year. Oh, you're going to do it again this year? Actually, I got the contract getting sent out today. Excellent. Excellent. If you have any problem, call John G. He's a friend of ours. He runs that whole thing. I believe that's who just reached out to us. Good. Good. Excellent. No, I'm going to make sure that we're behind you so we can hear you the whole way through. That's great. That'll be good stuff. So tell us first kind of explain what Prospect Hill is, how you guys started. Then we want to get into what you've turned it into, what you do now. Okay. Yeah, Prospect Hill is basically it's 6 friends. You know, it started off as 5, and it's built on. It's become like a family situation now. So we've had members leave and members come back, but we all started out collectively right around high school. Some of us were playing even before that, around like 8th grade, 7th grade, and we were just a ragtag bunch of guys from Lawrence and the surrounding areas, just trying to build a band to create a band and write songs and build a scene. And that's basically what we ended up doing. We just kind of went out there, started playing our own shows, making our name nationally, and then touring nationally, and then going overseas. And here we are now. The band won't die. It's like no matter what we do, we don't tour as much anymore, but the brand is still there, and people are excited about the new releases that we got coming out. And it's been a grind, just like anything else. You got to put the time in, and we put about over 10 years worth of work. Going down the East Coast, going out to the Midwest, going out to California, and just building it up. And
I was nervous when you guys said you were going to do a second album, because as a music fan, right? Even growing up as a kid, you find an album that you love it so much, and then they say, okay, we're going to come out with another album, and it's kind of a disappointment because you're expecting it to be as awesome as that first one.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because they're different. Like Van Halen all of a sudden started using like keyboards and stuff, and you're like, what the hell is this? But when you guys did your second album, I started listening to it, and it was almost like rediscovering the first album. It was just as good, if not better, than it was obvious that you guys had learned more about music and more about how to fine-tune your craft and your creativity, because that second album was amazing. It was so amazing, you guys put my daughter in it.
Oh, yeah.
You guys put my daughter in the video, right?
Yeah.
In fact, Rich is in your video as well. He's in the Knockout Game video.
Oh, yes, he is.
Step Out of Line,
yeah.
And then, by the way, great song.
Good job.
Even better video, but great song.
Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, I mean, we wanted to do something bigger than ourselves, and that's kind of what the approach we took toward it. And we worked really hard. We worked with some really great people to get some really great music, and we same thing with the videos and everything that we did media-wise, and that's basically what brought us to where we are now, where we're able to play these shows. And
what was it like when you went from like a local band and you got that call to play at like the Patriots game, or to play in like Germany, or you guys went out to some like wacky island somewhere out in the Pacific? I remember you called into the radio show one day. You were like out at some Pacific island somewhere.
Yeah. We played the Marshall Islands. We haven't done Germany yet. There is talks right now of a European tour over the summer, which might take us to Germany. But yeah, we got to play the Marshall Islands, which is really cool. It's basically a set of islands in the Pacific, between basically Hawaii and Australia, or between Hawaii and Japan, whichever way you want to look at it. We basically took over the islands during World War II. We took them from Japan, and now we have a military base. And it's the only military base in the world that's occupied by the U.S. that actually civilians live on.
So civilians can live on these islands, and they don't get any entertainment. You know, they're secluded out there in the middle of this tropical, beautiful island. So we got flown out there to play for the troops and for the civilians out there. And it was
sorry, I was looking for a plug because my computer's ready to die.
No worries.
I apologize.
It's all good.
It's all on your production here on the Paying Attention podcast.
Yeah. You got to multitask.
If I was more prepared, if I didn't have like 20,000 friggin' projects going on at once, this would be a much better show.
I hear you. It's all good. It's great. The show's great.
So you guys are like local guys, and you start getting the calls to go out to, like, you know, the islands and play the Patriots game. What was that like to play the Patriots game? Like, you grew up, say I'm not a football fan, I'm not a sports fan, but you are.
Yeah.
And you love the Patriots.
Yep.
And you get a phone call to play at a Patriots game. You must have just been like walking on clouds for a week after that call.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was great. Anytime we get any type of amazing opportunity like that, it's surreal. You know, it makes you realize, like, wow, you know, music is bringing us to this point. Our music stuff we created, our art as a collective is bringing us to these great opportunities. Whether it's the Patriots game, whether it's, you know, touring across the country or going overseas, or even getting, you know, like when we got our song placed on ESPN, that was a really big deal for us. That was cool. We were watching NFL football, you know, and then Fox NFL picked it up. So you're sitting there watching Sunday football, and all of a sudden your song comes on.
Isn't that awesome?
Pretty
awesome. That's got to like, I get all excited when I walk into Heavenly Donuts and someone's reading my newspaper. I can't imagine if I'm like watching a Patriots game and all of a sudden, like, you know, my song came up. Like, that's got to be, you guys must have been walking on clouds when that happened. That's phenomenal.
It's cool, you know, and we continue to do it. We just have slowed it down a little bit. Everybody's gotten their own thing, you know, everyone has their own thing that they're doing right now. And so we all come together collectively.
Because you guys kind of like broke up, right? You broke up a little bit, and then you guys kind of went all, kind of like Kiss, right? Kiss broke up, they all kind of went and did their own stuff, but they still got together as Kiss.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of did the same thing. You kind of went your separate ways, and you started, don't tell me, Ono Octopus, is that it?
Yeah, Ono Octopus is, it's basically my producer group with Sean Lichtenstein, who's the guitar player and songwriter for the band Lansdowne. So him and I met while we were out touring together. They're another band from the Boston area that did really well. And we decided we wanted to start producing bands, doing some artist development, creating a place where artists that are coming up from New England can go and get the help and get the consulting and get the quality of product that you can get out in LA. Because nothing like that existed for me when I was coming up. It was like, you know, you kind of just throw things at the wall and see if it works.
Right.
And so what happens is you spend a bunch of money and you make a lot of mistakes. And we wanted to kind of help the scene here in New England so that artists and bands that are coming up, they can come through us and we can do it right for them, show them where to spend the money, make sure they get the product, and then we can connect them all across the world and the country with our network. So that was basically what we did. And, you know, we've been producing artists, we've been filming music videos, we've been doing all types of marketing and branding, and we do it across all the artists and bands, and then we also do it across brands. You know, recently we worked with Under Armour and Tom Brady and Concepts.
Yeah, don't gloss over that.
Yeah.
So you guys, so we met, right? We had lunch at Sal's one night. We had drinks at Sal's, and you said, I don't know if you looked at my website yet. It's red13creative.com. So I go home and I get to the office, and because to me, home and the office is the same thing at this point.
Yeah.
So I got to get back to the office and I pull it up, and there's Tom flipping Brady on your website holding the sneaker endorsement that you guys put together. How did that happen? So now you went from being in awe, watching a Patriots game and your song comes on. What's it like when you get the phone call to work with Tom Brady?
Well, it's great how it all worked out because we one of our videographers and editors that we work with on our team, his name's Austin. We call him Boston Austin. He got the call from his friend over at Concepts, and he was like, "Hey, put together the reel, send it over. I have a great opportunity for you." So Austin basically, you know, put together some of the stuff he was working on, some of the stuff we were working on, and we sent over the reel. We got the job. He went over with Jim Foster, our director.
Jim's awesome, by the way.
Jim's the man.
I love him.
And they went over there, and it was very tight. The security was crazy, obviously, like you would expect. And they were, you know, very hesitant about how many people can be there and how many people could be on set. And so it was like we got them down to like 2 people. So we just sent Jim and Austin. I didn't even get to go, which was unfortunate, but at least it was great for the team and for the brand. And they went out there, they captured it, came back, edited it, put it out, and then the company Concepts that it was attached to with Under Armour, they released the media and the shoes that were, you know, the Tom Brady, the ones they gifted him in the video, they sold out in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Not even.
Wow.
It might even been, you know.
Like you could sell a piece of cardboard if you put Tom Brady's name on it.
Anything, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you guys end up working with him or his people, right? You got to meet him, and I saw the video of you guys with the sneakers.
Yeah, I didn't, but my guys did. You know, so which was nice.
So now moving forward, you're going to be doing more with him. Is it going to be hopefully more?
I don't know. I think it was
because we want to use you to somehow get to him.
To get to Tom. Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen.
Damn it!
It wasn't really like that, but it was a good opportunity. It was kind of like one of those things that boom, it happens, and it was great. And recently we got to work with through IRL Events, they're close friends of ours. They run Comic-Con out in Silicon Valley for Steve Wozniak, the founder of Apple. So we did some marketing with them on their job, and we also did some work on their E3, which is this massive gaming convention out in LA. It's like every single video game company is there, and then any new video game that's coming out for the year gets announced there. And
wow,
it's like a massive expo. So we did some work with them as well. So we've been doing some really good stuff. So we have the team Red 13 Creative, which is basically our marketing and branding side of things, and then we have Red 13 Studios, which is our location, which is the membership program for all the artists and the bands coming up.
And I don't think people understand like how ingenious this is, because I used to be in a band, and we'd have to spend all kinds of money to rent space to either practice or record a commercial. Record a song or record a video. And you know what it's like being in a band, right? You think it's going to take 3 days, but then a fight happens, and nobody likes the idea that you're doing, and 3 days becomes 2 weeks, and all of a sudden everybody's broke. So what you guys decided to do, and just tell me if I'm wrong about this from when we were hanging out talking, they pay like a gym membership.
Yep.
And so it's not like if they go 3 extra days, it's going to cost them an extra $1,000, and then they're going to be broke. They buy like a gym membership to Red 13, and they can kind of come in and use the stuff whenever it's available, whenever they want, right?
So they get basically, they pay the $50 a month, and then that gives them a discounted use of all of our facilities, whether it's the video side of it, the photo side, or the recording studio, and they get it at a very, very minimal rate. That it's $25 an hour, and that's with an engineer or a videographer or a photographer, and then we have all these other things as well. We're basically right now looking at some opportunities for investment to expand and get this thing going. But what I'd like to do is have all these stations where they could come in, just like you're saying, and they don't need anybody to assist them. And if they have a membership, they can come in and just utilize some of these spots, some of these stations, recording stations. So that's going to be the next.
And by the way, I was actually for those listening, I was actually at your studio. I came down with, I forget who I came down with. I came down with somebody, I think. And we were, Jonathan. And it's huge. All right, so you could have 5 bands in there at once doing stuff, and it would not even be in each other's way. But second of all, it's beautiful. Like I'm walking, I felt like I was in LA. Like nice. I walked through your sound studio, and then you guys had like another room where the windows were, and then you had another sound studio, then you had a video studio, and every time I turned into another room, it was something else even more spectacular than the last room I was in. And I'm like, how is this guy not like a billionaire already? Like you're a genius at everything. Everything you've found a way to come up with, you've done it in a way that nobody else has done it. Like you're outside the box on all of the projects that you're working on.
We're working away. Our biggest thing is, in what you saw, and I appreciate that. That's awesome to hear that you had that first impression, because that's what we're looking for, is to basically have that.
And I'm not just kissing your ass. If I thought it sucked, I'd tell you.
I know you would, and I appreciate it. You know I would. You're a real guy. So
the only thing that was missing was the girls. There were no groupies.
Well, you missed. It was an off day.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll let you know on the next.
Of course, the day that I'm there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I told. But
I'm single again, so I require groupies.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So we'll get you on a day when all the models are there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So basically what it is we decided we wanted to have a feel and aesthetic to the whole place, so that there's a vibe when you walk in, right? And which it seems like it worked. But
it was a wow. Like you opened the door and I was like, whoa, like what is this?
Yeah. We wanted to create that feel that it almost gives you like that LA vibe, because that's the whole thing. We're connecting musicians to the industry as a whole on the real level, on the big level, because like the way I like to compare it right now, New England's #1 in universities, right? #1 in the medical field, and #1 in sports, right? Now, if we were to take the music industry and we were to, utilize it and break it into teams, and, Miami is against New England, or Nashville's against New England, or LA's against, we'd get smoked. Atlanta would be beating us. Everybody would be beating us right now. And that's the whole, the principle of our whole team right now. We want to get New England at the top of the pack. We want to assemble all the artists, all the creatives, everybody that's here in New England that's killing it, bring them into our house, and kick ass.
There's no question that the music industry has had a tremendous transformation from even 10 years ago. And artists that are coming up, it's going to change. It's going to continue changing. And so artists that are coming up have to find a way to ply their craft to get the word out without getting ripped off, right? They want their music out there. They want their music heard and talked about. But they're musicians. They're not writers. They're not producers. They're not marketing people. They come to you. You have all that stuff, right?
Yep.
So if you're a band and you've got the talent, but that's all you have, 5 years ago, you had nowhere to go. You'd be playing clubs in Lawrence until someone discovered you. Now you go to Red 13 Creative Studios with Mark, and they walk you through the process. And they've got the friends, and they've got the contacts in the music industry, the writing industry, the marketing industry. And I think you've created something out of nothing, and you created a concept out of nothing that 5 years from now, people are going to be looking back and going, wow, that's the most innovative thing. I can't believe no one was doing that.
That's the plan, and we're looking to scale this thing and make it go national. Have the ability, if you're a member, you can go to Nashville and you could go right to the facility we have in Nashville, the one in Chicago, the one down in Miami. We're going to build this thing and we're going to make it so that this is its own scene. And yeah, our biggest goal is to bring opportunity for all these artists and creators, because a lot of them don't understand even how to make any money with their craft, and that's the thing. They're all just throwing it out there and they're not figuring out how to monetize it and how to create a career. And so, that's how you'll see a great artist and they'll put out music and there'll be 1,000 plays on it and that's it.
Right.
And it's like, what the hell? Why has that only got 1,000 plays? It's because no one really understands the whole game, and there's a whole concept around how to, strategically attack your audience and figure out who they are, find the target audience, and then smash it, and then build a show, an event around it so that you can monetize it correctly.
I should have you doing my marketing.
Yeah, right. I know we've been dancing around it. I know it's just we got busy, you got busy, and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'd like to. We're gonna make it happen.
I'm looking forward to it. I keep telling everybody, like, I don't care that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
We both want to work together, so that's gonna happen.
At
some point, we're gonna have you guys. I'm gonna have you guys run all my social media stuff, monetize everything, because I'm sick of being poor.
Yeah.
I know we had a long conversation about how sick I am of being poor, but mostly because I give everything away, and so I have to stop doing that too. Can I talk about something controversial, or is this all going to be a happy interview?
Yeah, whatever you want.
All right, so you guys did this video that Rich is in, my daughter's in, Step Out of Line. It made a pretty powerful political statement, and I thought it was very bold, and hopefully you can talk about this a little. It was pretty bold in this left-wing fascist culture that we have, where if you express any view outside of the approved CNN view, you're a bad person and you're attacked by the left. You're attacked by Hollywood. You're attacked by CNN and everybody in their network. You released this video, Step Out of Line, that was real. I'll let you describe it, but it was pretty politically incorrect, and it has to do with what's going on right now, right? You guys are ahead of the curve on that too.
Yeah.
It's about the gun laws, and it's about gun rights, and it's about protecting yourself. Talk about that.
Well, I mean, basically at the time there was this game that was happening. It was called the Knockout Game, and it was like, in all these like really urban areas where kids were just kind of, making it a point to go and randomly sucker punch somebody on the street, and it was like this game that they were all playing, and they thought it was funny, and you'd see it on like World Star Hip Hop, and you'd see it everywhere. And our take on it was like, my biggest thing with any of all this stuff, it's like, why is this happening? Like, why is this these violent tendencies happening? Why are these mass school shootings happening? And I think everything ends up staying on the shallow side of it. Like, no one really goes deeper because it's it's easy. It's an easy target to say, oh, it's guns or it's this or it's that. But it's like, no, there's been a turn in society somewhere where this has all started to happen in America, and it's way deeper than that, and I think that's we wanted to kind of portray that and show that in the video, where it's a lot. It's a combination of things. It's the prescription drugs, maybe, and these are all questions that we're raising in the video. We're not sitting here saying exactly what it is, but it could be prescription drugs.
You're not taking a side. This is what's brilliant about your video is most people have an opinion, and through their craft they express that opinion. You didn't do that. You presented the problem, and you did it in a way that makes people think about it maybe differently than the way they were thinking about it. And that's what I try to do in my writing when I'm doing new stuff, right? Did you get any backlash from that? I mean, I watched the video a lot, right? Because I listen to your music a lot. And every time I watch it, especially at the very end, I go, how the fuck did these guys get away with this?
Yeah.
Like, how did YouTube not take it down? How did Facebook not block them? I mean, I express a view on mental health, and I'm blocked for 3 days. How did you do that?
Well, I mean, the funny thing was the timing of that video. We put the video out, and that's kind of when the band had a little bit of a shake-up, so we kind of got stunted on the marketing with it. But we were actually, discussing revisiting it and kind of pushing it because of the times right now. But our whole thing was we just wanted to create the conversation and show, every side of it, all the pieces of media, everything that gets exposed, everything that it's almost like everybody just wants to enhance stuff to just create an argument, as opposed to like really just have an actual discussion about things, logical discussions, and find out the root of problems instead of what's just sitting on the top of it. Like everyone's always talking about Band-Aids. It's like, let's really figure out what the hell's causing the issue. And that was kind of what we wanted to get to and show the perspective of everybody, every walk of life in that video is in who's affected by these things, and then what the outcome could be and why it would happen. And that's basically what Step Out of Line was.
And there was some pretty controversial video shots in that video as well. Punching out Miley Cyrus. I clapped the first time I saw it, even though I was alone in my office. And then my next thought was, these guys are going to get killed. Hollywood's going to kill these guys. And you got no backlash out of it at all?
No, we didn't get enough of backlash. I thought we were going to get there was going to be a battle, but there wasn't much.
I can help you with that. I heard I'm really good at controversy.
You can rile some people up.
We can rile some people up.
Yeah. We're down. Listen, I like creating a conversation. I don't get offended if anyone gets mad. That right away you win the argument, So it's like a lot of people. If you want to come and you want to have an actual conversation with me, I'll have it all day. But if you're gonna get upset and you're gonna start name calling, it's like you lost. You already lost. So
I get it all the time. I mean, people are just constantly accusing me of being every ism you can imagine: a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, anti-Muslim, all this kind of stuff. But then the conversation stops. Because as soon as somebody's accusing you of something, well, you're not talking about the issue anymore. They made it about you.
Yeah.
Now you're having a conversation about you. You're not solving a problem.
Exactly.
Seems like that's all we hear today, especially on CNN and in the news media. Are you worried going forward? Like, what happens with you guys if you start to really peak and all of these things start taking off, and then the fascists in Hollywood start looking back at what you guys have done, like with Step Out of Line and some of the other stuff? Are you worried that that's going to hinder your success in the future?
No.
Really?
No, I'm not worried.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all.
Because you got warriors out here like me who will defend you, but I'm not like, I'm not meathead, right? I don't run Hollywood. So these guys are multimillionaires and they do run Hollywood.
I think I can hold my own. I'm not worried about anybody out there. I feel like my views and my stance on everything is just based off of logic. So it's just based on understanding the problem, and I don't really sway to one side or the other. I just look at the situation. Every situation is different. So I'm not going to have a straightforward opinion across every single situation.
Right.
Every situation is different.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of one of the things too. Everyone holds on to their beliefs or what they think, and then what happens is when a situation arises, they already have the belief before they actually dig in and find out what the hell happened.
Right.
So that's an issue. That's an issue across the country. Everyone's they read headlines. You know what I mean? No one really digs into the article.
No one wants the substance. They don't want to learn what it really is. They just want to pile on. They want to jump on a bandwagon and pretend that they were part of it.
It's a buzzword, world right now. It's like, okay, what is the next buzzword coming out, and let's just jump on the bandwagon and say we're on this side or that side. It's like, there's so many things, like when it comes to the best thing is like right now our president Donald Trump, he feeds off of it and he knows it and he utilizes it, and some people don't even get that's what he's doing.
Right.
That he's just manipulating everybody to a point on a way because he knows it's going to get reaction and he knows he's going to get what he wants out of it. He uses it as a leverage on every single one of
the news is so stupid they fall for it every single time because they so emotionally hate Donald Trump that they were going to talk about him being a Russian spy for 3 days, but he says to his wife, "Hey, watch this," and he grabs his phone and he types "Kafafi," and that's all they talk about for 3 days. They stopped talking about Russia. They stopped talking about him being a Nazi. They stopped talking about how much and it's all about whatever he tweeted that day. He's a genius. I mean, he's playing them, but nobody's learning anything.
Well, I think the biggest thing right now is America is at a point where they had to take a big look at themselves, right? Where everyone had to take a mirror and really look at themselves. And if you think about it, America as a capitalistic country is in basically the way we've been moving forward, even with the media, financially, just morally, everything. It's like President Trump is us looking at ourselves in the mirror.
Absolutely.
And nobody likes to see what they look like in the mirror.
Right.
And that's one of those issues. Like, you turn the lights on, you look in the mirror, and you're like, wait a minute, whoa, that's what I really look like?
Right.
Fuck that. You know what I mean? And that's one of the issues. And so everyone isn't taking it in for what it is. And it's like, okay, listen, if you wanted real change, you need to look at yourself first. And if you don't like the way you look, if you don't like Trump, you don't like the way you look, then we got to change as a country internally. And that's one of those things that I say is like, dig deeper. What's the fucking issue here?
Right.
If you don't like who the president is and you don't like what he's doing, well, he's the representative of what this fucking country is now.
Right.
And how people think and how they view things and how they see it and how it's such a, dog-eat-dog world out there. It's like, well, if you don't like that how it is, then that's where you make the change.
Right.
You don't bitch about it. You go, what the fuck? Fuck that. We're going to fix this.
Right. I think it's always hysterical when Trump comes out and he attacks CNN by name. And he says that they're fake news and that they lie. And then, of course, I flip on CNN because I want to see how they're going to cover it because it's always hysterical. So he says it, and then Jake Tapper comes on and says, coming from a guy who lied about how many people were at an inauguration and this and this and this, and he lists like 5 things that they think Trump lied about. But what they're not doing is addressing the fact that, boy, if it's wrong for him to lie, how does that make it okay for you guys to lie every single day about him? I mean, if Trump was half as bad as they say he was, they wouldn't have to lie. He comes out and he talks about Mexico, the government of Mexico is not sending us their best and brightest, and he makes that famous quote about how they're sending rapists. And CNN takes that, they turn it into he called all Mexicans rapists, and they push that narrative. Now, what he said was pretty bad enough, right? But if he was half as bad as they say he is, why would they have to lie? Why would they have to take what he says? The other day, Wayne LaPierre said, the head of the NRA, said that some people in the political world and the news world are exploiting the deaths of these children. And then the minute he said it, they go back to Wolf Blitzer, and Wolf Blitzer's got on the screen a kid from the shooting and says to the girl, so what do you think that Wayne LaPierre just said that you're exploiting the deaths of your fellow students? Now, it's not even close to what he said.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, like, why? If he was that bad, why would they have to lie?
Well, I don't even think it's the reasoning for why they're lying. I think it's just it's creating so much viewership. It's creating audience. They're making money off of all this. So no matter what, it's just like steamrolls. Like,
but they're doing everything that they're accusing him of doing.
Well, all it is just like there's a counter argument here. There's a country split, and if you side on one side, you're going to get the views from both sides, no matter what. So you got to draw a line in the middle. That's what media does now. That's what the news media does. So they just pick a side because they know that they're going to have the support of one side, but they're also going to have the trolls on the other side. So that's all this is what this has all become now. It's just a big stupid fight.
See, I always said if I had a rich friend, hint hint, if I had a rich friend who wanted to start a real news network, I could blow away CNN and Fox in one day because it would be called Just News. It would be the Just News Network. And it would be none of these opinion panel shows. It would be none of this, I'm going to tell you what Donald Trump really meant when he said this. It's going to be, here's what Donald Trump said, here's what the Democrats said, you decide for yourself which is right, and then move on to the next story. CNN spends all day on one flipping story. Like, something happens. If there's a shooting right now in Oregon, they're going to talk about that for 3 days and nothing else. Missing children, Alzheimer's patients that walk away, anything else that happens that's news. I mean, Trump threw ISIS out of Syria. They never once covered it. Yeah. They were so busy covering whatever that news story of the day was. When I was growing up, we had actual news. You put the news on and it was objective, and they told you what happened and then left it for you to think about what that meant. Well, today they tell you what to think. Donald Trump lied today. Well, if you start off with Donald Trump lied today, how is this news?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, like, the way news is fed to people now, it's based off of social media now. So depending on what your view is, it's being read by the algorithms, and they just keep feeding you everything that you already agree to, or there's no
it's not news anymore.
There's no other perspective. So, like, my thing is, I don't follow news at all anymore. Like, I don't even watch it. I don't even have cable anymore. I cut the cord. I do Apple TV.
Good for you.
I don't have time to watch any of this shit. I check in on Facebook here and there, and when there's a major event, what I do is I always do my homework. I hit every single news station very quickly. Boom, boom, see what everyone's saying. Then I dig in, and then if there's actual AP or there's any, like, actual, legislation passed or anything deeper, I go as deep as I can to the root, and then get as much knowledge on it as myself, and that way I can have my own opinion on it. And that's the way I do it, but I know that the rest of the country does it because that's a lot of work.
Right.
That's like, fuck that. I'm just going to take the headline, and I'm going to run with that because I like that.
Yep.
And that's all it is. So it's like, I don't care enough to make a first assumption. I care enough to go deeper. And then it's not like an active thing. It's like every now and then I check in if there's a real thing going on because, I'm too fucking busy, honestly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I have no time in the day.
One of the highest compliments I ever got was when you and I were having drinks at Sal's, and you said, as soon as you go live on Facebook, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I stop what I'm doing and I go to your feed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, if Mark Roberge is saying that, then we're doing pretty good.
Well, it's exciting. And my favorite thing about you is, like, if there's something local going on, like, honestly, the first thing that I check is your feed because you're in touch locally before everybody else. So on a local level, I check what's going on with you. I see what you're reporting, and I love reading all the comments because either people hate you or they love you, and it's fucking awesome.
But they're all on my page.
But they're all talking shit, and it's awesome. It's it's entertaining. So like I'll do that. That's like me kind of like taking 5 minutes out of my day just to zone out of something and get entertained. But it's also to also be informed. So it's kind of a little bit of both on your page. And then on the national level, I do what I said. I go and I'll look at every major news outlet and get an opinion based off of what's all being reported. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. Everything's swayed. Everyone's pushing an agenda to piss either the other side off and get their support on their side, and it's actually it's sad that this is how it's turned out.
I think it's a threat to our democracy because half the country is living in one reality because they're watching CNN, and the other half of the country is living in a totally separate reality because they're watching Fox, and the same event happens, but you have 50% of the country believes it happened one way, 50% of the country believes it happens a different way, and there's no way to square those. There's no way to come to a compromise to actually like solve any problems in our society because everybody's running to their corners.
Well, the biggest thing is right now in this world, we are the most communicated we've ever been that we could possibly be, but no one actually utilizes that. So like, for instance, when something crazy is going on, the first thing I do is I don't go to the news stations realistically. I go to someone that's going to be on the ground in touch, like locally that's you, and then nationally that's Periscope. So what I can do is I can get a feed of what's actually happening there live, and so that's how you form your own opinion. Now I started
on Periscope. Should I stopped Periscope because we couldn't download the video and I need it for like when I'm doing news. Is that worth going back to? Is Periscope worth going back to if I'm going to be doing live feeds and I'm going to be doing that kind of stuff? Because you're the genius of this stuff.
I think if you can do it on top of everything else you're doing, you should. Because it's location-based, especially if it's a big news story. Nationally, people are going to check in. Like I remember when the hurricane down in Puerto Rico was happening, I was checking on there in Florida area, and I was looking in and I was seeing what was happening from the first person view of it, And so that was exciting. And then the same thing with all these rallies that were happening during Trump's when he first came into office and all this stuff. I would go on there and on Periscope you can see from the area and check in and how many people are periscoping, and you can kind of bounce around and see all the different views, and that was exciting.
And you bring that up, it begs another question. Given that the media lies so much, you would think they wouldn't lie as much, knowing that people like you and I can go to Periscope and Twitter and actually look it up and see for ourselves whether it's true or not.
90% of the world doesn't give a fuck to go that deep. That's the problem. They like the shallow side. They like what's just given them right there, and they're not going to go and take the time to go into those feeds and see and make an opinion on their own. They're just like, oh, I'll take that opinion from somebody else because I don't know why.
It's easy.
It's easy. They think it's trusted, or they just want to argue with their coworker tomorrow at the office. You know what I mean? So it's a weird world because with all this communication, all this ability to see what's going on, no one really takes the time to do it.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is.
Well, eventually I'm going to run into a rich friend that wants to start a cable news station that will blow everybody away, and I will run it. And trust me when I tell you, it's going to be. I'll be taking over the world after that. I'm going to be bigger than. We would be bigger than Zuckerberg because there's a thirst out there for people who do just want news, right? Like people like you don't watch the news anymore because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't bullshit, you'd go back, right? If there was a news station that started tomorrow that just gave you news, and it would be 5 minutes in Chicago and 5 minutes in Miami and 10 minutes in LA, giving you the biggest news stories in each area in each state, you'd watch that, right? I know I'd watch it.
Yeah, and you know what? The news is depressing now. It's all negative shit. It's always like, you know what? You feel like shit after you watch news. You're like, what the fuck world am I in?
Yeah, the whole country's falling apart.
But it's not, though. There's always great things that are happening. You just don't hear about them. And it's like, you got to give the good with the bad at the same time. And if you're not getting it, then it's like, you're doing something wrong to your viewers. You're actually creating a reality for them that's just completely negative. And who the fuck wants to live in a negative world all the time?
Right.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Talk about, you've got some stuff coming up. I know you've got some projects coming up. Can you talk about any of them?
Yeah, I mean, we got a ton of things working right now. We launched the membership aspect at the studio, so that thing's rolling really. It's moving too fast. I actually just got the P&L from my finance manager on the way here. And
what's a P&L?
Our profit and loss, basically, our statement. So it just kind of shows how fast and how your cash flow, basically, and how everything's working. And our membership is growing too fast for us to even handle it right now. So it's a good problem
to have.
It's a good problem to have.
Right.
So that's happening, and then now we're doing some partnering with one of 5 different major distribution channels, whether it's one of the 3 major labels, Warner, Sony, or Universal, or 2 of the independents, which is Ingrews or Cobalt. So we're kind of taking agreements right now. We're getting contracts from all of them, and we're reviewing them, and we're going to actually launch a record label for our members, for all the artists in New England, and we're going to be able to sign
That's
people.
phenomenal.
We're going to be able to,
You are single-handedly revolutionizing the next step in music production and music marketing.
We're doing our best. We're doing something that I think
I swear to God, I think 5 years from now, everyone in LA is going to be copying your model, and they're going to be looking at you going, we got to get this guy on board as a consultant to help us with this because this is the guy that came up with it. Well, I think it's I've never heard. Maybe there's somebody else out there also doing it. I've never heard anything like that.
Well, as of right now, no. So we got to keep it quiet until it's
okay. All right, fair enough.
But so there's a lot of good stuff going on. We got a new Prospect Hill single that we're sitting on right now. That's going to go through this distribution channel. We're basically going to.
Can the Valley Patriot have the exclusive when you're ready?
You want the exclusive? You want to drop it? Yeah, we can.
That would be phenomenal.
So we can do all types of stuff. The song's called Get Out. We were actually took over Spooky World, and they allowed us to film the music video there.
That sounds fun.
And it was badass. It's like it's kind of another controversial song a little bit. It just kind of feeds into the fear of like what's going on with all the the mass hysteria and all these issues that go on, and how this world had kind of made that turn into like this really scary, evil situation now where you have to worry about mass shootings and bullshit like that. So we kind of touch on that a little bit, and it's a cool song. It's a badass song. It's like it's a heavy one.
I know I'm going to like it before I even hear it because I've liked everything else that you guys have done. I want to do like 4 more minutes, and I want to bring Patrick up for the final segment. We'll take a quick break, and if you want to stay with us, you can. Can I bring up the elephant in the room? Is that okay?
Sure.
So you guys had a breakup at one point, and you guys and Adam kind of went your separate ways. And every time I promote you guys on Facebook, some guy comes on and starts giving us crap about, oh yeah, they're not together anymore, and they had a big fight with Adam, and there's still a lot of people out there still thinking about that and still talking about that. But you guys have really kind of got back together, and you guys have worked out your differences. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because, and I know it's tough, right? Because it was a tough situation. But I love Adam, and I love all the guys in your band, and I was devastated when I found out that you guys were kind of breaking up, and so happy when I found out that you guys were coming back together. It was almost like when Dave came back to Van Halen. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of people that still don't realize that we're all back together. It's funny. I see that all the time, too.
They remember the breakup, but they never remember the get-together, right?
Yeah, and it's fine. What happened was, I'm such a, driven, motivated human, and I'm just like, I want to go, and I want to push this thing to as big as I can get it, and that takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of people moving together as one. And what happens is, as the years go by and certain things go on in people's lives within the band, their personal lives and whatnot, things get hard, it gets complicated, and people sometimes aren't as focused as others. And so that's kind of one of the issues that we had. And we're like brothers, no matter what. At the end of the day, Adam, if Adam called me right now, even when we weren't back together, if he called me right now and he's in the hospital, I'd be the first one there, and that's the way we roll. But we just needed to do something in order to kind of change it up and get things moving in one direction. And what it did was it actually, it made us stronger as a whole, as personally, individually, and then as one band. And so when we decided to say, hey, listen, let's bring this thing back together as a collective, as the initial group. And we actually brought Andy Bocart back in, Andy Tats. Mm-hmm. So he's back. And so now we got a band of 6 right now. We got 3 guitar players, which we probably don't need, but it's awesome. It's like having the family back in.
It's such a group of incredible talent put all together in one band, where you got Adam, who's got such a distinct voice. He's so fucking talented. I hate the guy. You almost want to hate him because he's so talented. And then on top of that, you've got Edgar, who's just as talented. Edgar is just amazing.
He's awesome.
And you guys are all in the same band. Even the guitarist and you guys are all in one. It's almost like Van Halen. I keep going back to Van Halen because that was my favorite band in high school.
I like that comparison. I mean, I think Van Halen's one of the greatest bands ever.
Yeah, me too.
But I love to be at that level, But like I said, we're going to be in a trajectory very soon with this new record and all the stuff I've been doing behind the scenes. That's actually going to help us and get us even further out there. So, we're looking at a potential. Hopefully, there's discussions of maybe like a 1 to 2 week tour out in Europe in June, and we're going to have some new show announcements. We got the Lawrence St. Patty's Day Parade.
Excellent.
New single coming out.
I will be there.
So there's going to be a ton of stuff going on this whole year. We're going to be busy, and then I'm thinking 2019 is going to be the year that we might do another full national tour.
That'll be awesome. We'll be there no matter where it is. We'll be there for sure because I love watching you guys live. I've gone to see Shakira. I've gone to see Lenny Kravitz. I love going to concerts. They never sound as good in concert as they do in their studio. And anybody who goes to concerts on a regular basis knows that. But if you go to a Prospect Hill concert, you walk out of there going, wow, they're better live than they are in their studio. And again, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. If I thought your live show sucked, I'd tell you.
Appreciate it.
I always have admired people who are, I said it at the beginning, I want to wrap up with this, people who are very good at what they do and are passionate and love what they do. I've always, like Willie Lantigua and I always hated each other, but I always had a respect for him because the guy's a mastermind at politics. Like, he's a genius at politics. And even though our personalities didn't get along, I always had tremendous respect for him because he's just so good at what he does. Yeah. And I feel the same way about you guys. It's a labor of love for you, so it's not work, and it shows. It shows that you guys enjoy what you're doing. And I hope you guys to have all the success in the world, and hopefully I can at least be in the audience when you're having it because I love watching you guys have the fun that you have.
I appreciate it, Tom. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you're welcome to come on in. You're actually going to be at our bash, right? March 23rd, You're coming to the bash?
Yep.
Can we get you, like, maybe get up and sing a song or something? Or?
Yeah, I'll try to get out of there.
Enough beers. We're gonna get enough beers in them first.
Yeah. You gotta get me licking up a little bit.
So, all right, we're gonna come. You're free to stay if you want. We want to bring Patrick up for like 2 minutes to talk about Twin Light Security because they sponsor the show, and I don't know if I'm actually explaining what they do right every week. But since the guy who owns the company is here, I figure we'll bring him up and we'll just talk a couple of seconds about Twin Light Security.
Awesome.
And investigations. We'll be back after this, maybe like a 1 minute or 2 minute break if we can. I want to thank Stu Fink, our fine producer, and of course my photographer, Rick.
And I'm Rosanna Zingales-Lopez.
We advertise in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why?
Because it really works.
Hi, I'm Allie from EIS Inc. We provide security, investigations, and training. We advertise in the Valley Patriot. Why? Because it really works.
Twin Lights Security and Investigations advertises in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why? Because it really works. But don't take our word for it. Just ask our advertisers. They'll tell you advertising in the Valley Patriot newspaper really works.
And now we get back to the final segment of Paying Attention, and here's your host, the one and only Tom Duggan.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. I'm not too sure how true that is. I want to thank Mark Roberge. I want to thank Corinne and Brooke from the Daybreak Homeless Shelter, Great Island Psychological Center, and we'll do all that stuff at the end of the show. We have like 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left, and I wanted to bring up Patrick McLaughlin from Twin Lights Security and Investigations, because every week I talk about your show, I talk about your business on the show, because you sponsor the show. Thank you for that, by the way.
Anytime.
Because it helped us to get this show off the ground. But I'm not sure how well I'm describing it, so I said, well, he's here. Let's bring him up and talk about Twin Lights Security, because you could do two different things. You do security, but you also do investigations.
Yeah, you describe us okay, not perfectly. First, I want to let you know that to follow Mark was kind of exciting. You know, I'm a former drummer also. I used to be in a 80s cover band. We did Styx, we did Michael Jackson, you know, we did Streisand. It was Gloucester High School marching band.
Okay.
So, anyway.
It was good. I thought it was funny.
Okay, well. go on.
No, so Twin Lights, and we appreciate your advertising with us. We certainly appreciate it. Tell people what it is Twin Lights does. Like if someone needs your services, they may not know they need your services because they may not know what your services are.
Right.
So tell them what it is that you do.
Well, mostly we do, private security. We've worked a couple of movies, 3 of them. We did the Detroit movie. That's where I met Mike Thibodeau.
Great guy.
Yeah, he is. He's a hard worker too. We've done a Larry David movie with I forget the name of the movie actually.
The Larry David movie?
Yeah, Clear History. I'm sorry. And then we worked with Adam Sandler for Grown Ups 1. And we did the security not at the movie, but we did it at where they lived. So it was kind of exciting. But mostly we do, like I said, just private security. We do events. We do movies. We do security at a private housing area, and we're getting into a little bit of retail security. You mentioned that earlier this morning.
Yeah, like the Burger Kings and the McDonald's.
Yeah.
I know McDonald's in Lawrence. You go through the drive-through because you have to. Because if you get out of your car, someone's going to assault you, asking you for a cigarette or $1 because that's where the homeless hang out.
Yeah. One day I drove up to a McDonald's and there was 2 guys right out at the drive-through window. One on either side, and now I'm expected to pay for my meal, going through the drive-through with 2 guys that I don't recognize. And I just imagine like an elderly person coming up and doing that, and it didn't seem right to me. So I talked to the person about that, and he had mentioned that he was going to try and get the police to come up and do, some rounds. But I said, hey, by the way, I do private security.
And you do investigations too. So someone's getting divorced or something.
Yeah, it's mostly marital stuff or children issues. And private investigation, it's a job where a 50% approval rating is pretty good because half the people I meet hate me.
That's good, though.
Yeah, it is.
In my world, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we do a little bit of that. Mostly we focus on the security, but I'm a constable, so the private investigation helps with that as well. Because I have to serve papers, I have to find out where they are and track them down. And
how do people get in touch with you if they're looking for somebody for security? If they're looking for somebody to do investigations, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, my phone 978-427-4471. They can call me there. The website Twin Light Security.
And it's Twin Lights with an S.
Yeah, it's basically after the 2 lighthouses on Thatcher Island. I wanted like a Gloucester, Rockport iconic, thing for people to recognize us. So that's kind of where we got the name.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming in. I'd be happy to have you on and give you some more time if you ever want to come in and talk about security stuff.
Yeah, I mean, today I'm a little bit nervous.
That's okay.
I grew up being a shy guy. Now they call it social anxiety.
Right.
So,
listen, I appreciate what you've done for us more than you know. And we're going to do everything we can to give you as much love and hopefully get you as much business as we can. And I really do want you to come back. And please come to our charity bash. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely, we'll be there.
And I think when you see what we do in the room that night, you guys, we're going to be married together forever.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you, everybody. I want to thank Twin Lights Security and Patrick McLaughlin. I also want to thank Joe Zingalis, Rosanna Zingalis from Team Zingalis, Century 21 in Lawrence. A&M Auto Body. Make sure you go see Angelo. If you get a ding in your car, you get into an accident. He brought his business into Lawrence from South Boston. I don't know anybody doing that, so he's a pretty dedicated guy. And I've seen some of the work he does. He's in the old Metropolitan Building in Lawrence. So make sure you go see Angelo at A&M Auto Body and tell him I told you to go see him, and he will give you a discount and he'll take care of you. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Paying Attention, listening to the Paying Attention podcast. We will see you next week. In an upcoming show we've got, not next week, but in a couple of weeks, we've got the governor of New Hampshire is going to come in to talk about the opioid crisis and Lawrence. How about that, right? So Melvin Taylor says we got to go home, so go home already.
Telling you to go home. Telling you to go home. Telling you to go home.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.